It's August 2027. The IEBC has just been constituted a month before with new commissioners and the head of IEBC, not the CEO, but I'm talking about the chief commissioner or whatever the case is. The polling stations are closed. The counting is going on. Ruto is leading. The countries can't believe it. Some parts of the country has already erupted in protest, claiming that there's rigging claims. Okay? This is the scenario in 2027 August. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades, join me today as we see what lies ahead for Ruto. A lot of people want to see Ruto be defeated. In fact, they believe it's almost obvious that he's going to lose. But I say, hold your horses before you get there, before you are so sure, before you count your chickens, before something happens. The coalition he chooses, and after him choosing the new commissioners, the results are not going as most Kenyans would think. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers, sisters, friends, and comrades, karibuni sana this Kenya Revolutionary for another session, evening session. Let's start with what's going on out there. Ama namna gani? Hebu tuanze na habari ambayo yanaendelea leo Kenya. Twende.
Walikutana wote kwenye jukwaa moja huko Embu katika hafla ya kumuidhinisha Askofu Peter Kimani Ndung'u katika Dayosisi ya Embu. Ndio mara ya kwanza kwa hao kukutana baada ya tofauti za kisiasa kuibuka baina yao. Japo kwa maneno waliyosema ni machache mno, kuna mengi walioyatamka kupitia ishara na mienendo yao, kama anavyoarifu mwanahabari wetu Ibrahim Karanja.
Kukutana kwenye hafla moja kwa Rais William Ruto, mtangulizi wake Uhuru Kenyatta, naibu rais Kindiki Kithure na naibu rais aliyebanduliwa Rigathi Gachagua hakungekuwa jambo la kupuuzwa, hata iwapo ni katika hafla ya kanisa. Hawa sio watu tu waliowahi kuwa katikati ya uongozi wa taifa, bali ni marais wawili, japo mmoja ni mstaafu, manaibu rais watatu, japo mmoja alipanda cheo na kuwa rais na mwingine akifurushwa huku mwingine akihudumu kwa sasa. Hawa ni wanandoa kisiasa waliotalikiana kwa wakati mmoja. Tangu mapema Jumamosi, makali ya mahusiano yao yalianza kuonekana wakati naibu rais aliyefukuzwa kazi Rigathi Gachagua alipofika. Picha zilisambaa kote mitandaoni za Gachagua akitembea kwenye matope kuingia kwenye hafla. Huyu ni jamaa ambaye kwa miaka miwili zilizopita alizoea kuendeshwa hadi kwenye zulia jekundu na kumwelekeza hadi kwenye eneo anakoketi rais. Lakini hata akitembea kwenye matope, Gachagua alipokelewa kwa shangwe, akijielekeza kwenye hema mbali na lilikokuwa hema la rais. Kwenye hafla yote hii alionekana akisemezana tu na wabunge waliokaa kando yake, Githunguri Gathoni wa Mushomba na mwenzake wa Maragwa Mary wa Maua. Mara kwa mara viongozi wa kanisa walionekana wakizungumza na Gachagua. Kutoka hapa alipokuwa ameketi, naibu rais huyu wa zamani alitia machoni tena kwa njia nzuri mno pale bosi wake wa zamani aliyekuwa rafiki yake na sasa adui yake wa kisiasa, Rais William Ruto akiwasili, akiandamana gumosi gupili na naibu wake wa sasa Kithure Kindiki. Kindiki akitembea alikotembea Gachagua na kuketi alikozoea kuketi Gachagua. Ila alipowasili rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta, shangwe na nderemo zilizidi. Mara ya mwisho alipozungumza hadharani ndani ya mipaka ya Kenya ni alipokuwa akilalamika dhidi ya kile alichosema ni familia yake kunyanyaswa na kudhulumiwa na utawala wa Rais William Ruto. Kenyatta akiketi karibu sana na Rais Ruto, na ni naibu rais Kithure Kindiki pekee aliyekuwa kati yao. Mara kwa mara walinongonezeana sana, wakionekana wenye furaha kama marafiki wa siku nyingi. Ulipowadia muda wa viongozi kuzungumza, mchanganyiko kuhusu itifaki yao ilikuwa wazi.
We would wish, Madam, you will come back to invite the deputy president perhaps I can invite the former president. Okay, invite the deputy president.
It's now my honor and pleasure to welcome the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Professor Kithure Kindiki. Thank you very much.
Utanisamehe Askofu Muheria, kwa sababu kiitifaki singeweza kuongea baada ya rais wa nne kuongea. Kwa hivyo utanikubalia nikimwalika akisha tusalimia nirudi hapa ili nialike rais wa sasa, rais wa tano wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Naomba sasa kwa heshima kubwa kiongozi wetu aliyehudumu kama rais wa nne, Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta akuja atusalamie. Welcome Mr. President.
Alipomaliza kumpa kongole askofu wa siku, Kenyatta kwa hali yake ya kawaida akaanza gumzo, ila sio kabla ya kucheza na kipaza sauti kama kawaida yake.
Mimi sina mengi ya kusema. Najua mimi sasa siku hizi mimi sina mastori mengi. Mimi naangalianga tu TV. na kusikia radio tu. Lakini ningependa kuungana na yale yamesemwa hapa na mwenzetu makamu wa rais. Tuombee nchi yetu, tuombee amani, tuombee uwiano kati ya viongozi na wananchi, tuache mambo ya ukabila na tupendane. Sisi wote ni wa Kenya, na Kenya haiwezi kufaulu watu wakiwa na utengemano, wakiwa watupiana maneno, wakiwa hawaheshimiani. Vile tumesema bishopu hawaheshimu, nyinyi mtarudisha hiyo. So viongozi pia muheshimu wananchi na watarudisha hiyo heshima.
Kiongozi wetu, ile kazi uliniwachia mimi nang'ang'ana nayo mbaya sana. Kusukuma. Na pale kwa CBC tulianza mambo ya elimu mpya, mfumo mpya 2017. Nataka niseme kufikia sasa next year tunaenda grade 9 na tayari tumenunua vitabu ya watoto wetu wa grade 9 1-to-1.
Picha hii ya Rais William Ruto na mtangulizi wake Uhuru Kenyatta, au hata picha hii au hii ambayo wanacheka pamoja, ama hii ambayo sasa inamhusisha naibu rais Profesa Kithure Kindiki. Picha hii haijaonekana katika taifa la Kenya kwa karibia miaka miwili kufikia sasa. Wanasema kuwa katika siasa siku moja ama hafla moja huenda ikawa na maana kubwa sana kisiasa. Je, siku hii ambayo ilifanyika Embu ina maana gani kisiasa zijazo? Ibrahim Karanja, NTV.
All right. That was a quick summarization of what really went between the relationship between the president, the current president, and the former president, and Kindiki, who is the current deputy president. Okay. Now, the irony is, here's the irony, not the irony, but a coincidence is, hold on, guys. The funny part is this, that I want to mention. Kithure Kindiki, who is now the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya and constitutionally, he was, I think he was one of the lawyers, a team, a member of the team, the lawyers team of Ruto's lawyers in ICC. Okay? Both Ruto and Uhuru were both suspects in the ICC case in 2013 after the 2007 clashes, if you remember. Okay? These two were named along with Mr. Sang and that CS, I forgot his name, but it was 4 people, okay? There were 6, so Campo 6, okay? But notably was these 2 who were not supposed to they didn't pass chapter 6 of the constitution, and they were not supposed to run for president, but again, they bulldozed their way into becoming the Jubilee presidential candidates. And today, here we are. Uhuru has finished his 10 years as the president of Kenya, and Ruto is trying to finish his first term. And Kidure happens to be the new deputy president who was part of Ruto's team of lawyers who were defending him at the ICC. See the common denominator that actually brings these 3 together? I mentioned in my first live, and I won't mention it again, but I'll just make it quick. Isn't it a coincidence that now they are shaking hands, cheesing it up, exchanging notes and pleasantries? Why was the so-called Uhuru Kenyatta, who had all the powers in the world when he was the president, why did he hand over power to Ruto, the very person that we were meant to believe that he abhorred? He did not like him. He warned us about him. He didn't trust. He ostracized, blamed. Why did he hand over power? Don't give me this answer that, Kenyatta was respecting the constitution. Constitutionally, he was supposed to hand over power. No. Uhuru Kenyatta never cared about the Kenyan constitution. He never cared about it. We saw that with Maraga, when Maraga even there were active court orders that he refused to obey. So for him to disobey the law, the constitution, will not be something so surprising. And that's why I ask, with all the powers that he wielded, why did he choose to hand over power to Ruto? If indeed he believed him along with Raila Odinga, as they meant to tell us after any of the elections, they told us that Ruto alifanya mariganga and became the president. Why did he pass on power to him if that was still the truth? Wangira, I see you there. Let me bring you in. All right. Let me put the link there. So anyone, and I mean anyone who wants to come in, can come in and chime in. I see you, Mr. Wangira. I see Bruce Yagdev, Jacinta Teresa. Thank you. Greetings and blessings to you too. Thank you very much. Join us in. That's the question that I want to ask. If Uhuru Kenyatta truly hated Ruto as we were meant to believe, why did he hand over power after the elections? Because he wielded all the powers of the state and he broke all the laws that has to do with the constitution. All the court orders that were given against him, never respected. He threatened the judges, threatened their lives, shot Justice Mwita's bodyguard. What stopped him from denying Ruto from taking over power? Was it really a true animosity? Was there any kind of bad blood between these two, or were we played? Karibu sana Jared Wangira. You can start with, can you tell us what your take is in the events that happened today with the former president joining in this, joining the president and his new vice president and the ex-vice deputy president who also showed up at the venue uninvited? What's your take on that? Karibu sana. Let me help you unmute because you are muted. Okay. Wangera, unmute, please.
Okay. How are you?
There you go. I'm doing good, brother. How are you doing?
How are you? Oh, I'm doing fine. Can you
I'm
get
doing
me
great.
clearly?
Yes, I can.
You know, it's an interesting time in the Republic of Kenya. You know, I remember there was a young man one time who witnessed a road accident. And when he was interviewed to describe how the accident was, ilikuwa kama video, ni kama drama. So, you know, some of the things that we are seeing in the Republic of Kenya today can fit in that analogy of ni kama video, ni kama drama. And you know, you are raising a very patent question on Uhuru Kenyatta. And you know, some of us were disappointed with Uhuru Kenyatta. Not that he handed over power to William Samoei Ruto, because I don't think that he had any otherwise. But, you know, I don't think that, you know, Uhuru Kenyatta worked, you know, hard enough to block William Ruto from becoming the president of the Republic of Kenya. Because, you know, he was the incumbent, he was the incumbent, he came from a region that had the highest number of voters in the Republic of Kenya at that particular time. But at no single time did we see Uhuru Kenyatta going out personally to persuade the people of Mount Kenya not to vote for William Samoei Ruto. So, you know, there have been a lot of stories. Some people tend to believe that there was a conspiracy between, perhaps a hidden conspiracy between William Samoei Ruto and, you know, Uhuru Kenyatta to deny Raila Odinga the win. You know, there are people who believe so, that, you know, it did not work hard enough to say that, you know, Raila Odinga was elected as the president of the Republic of Kenya. For example, you know, it is in Mount Kenya where Raila Odinga never had agents. Imagine Raila Odinga was being supported by an incumbent president, did not have agents in a region where the incumbent president came from. And you know, this sounds very, very funny. Why didn't Raila Odinga have agents? You know, I remember having a discussion with somebody, and I was telling somebody that, you know, if you are an incumbent, then you must deploy every machinery to ensure that the person that you want to win wins. Even if it includes, you know, deploying members of our security agencies as agents in areas where you have crucial interest, you know, like the way Mount Kenya was. But unfortunately for Raila Odinga, he didn't have agents in Mount Kenya. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why, you know, we lost that election. Look at the margin between Raila Odinga and William Samoei Ruto. It was a margin of 200,000 votes. Look, and again, when you are an incumbent president, you must have control of, you know, direct control of the electoral machinery, including the electoral body. But you know, he allowed Chebukati, you know, to battle away. And when Chebukati battled away, you know, that was the end of it. You know, Chebukati became a pro-Ruto person. How do you allow a commissioner of an electoral commission to bolt away? How do you allow him to bolt away? And you know, there is one thing that I like about perhaps William Samoei Ruto. He could be a better student of politics than perhaps, Uhuru Kenyatta. For example, when he discovered that, Rigathi Gachagua was going to become a threat to him, he found a way of, dealing with Rigathi Gachagua once and for all. He ensured that Rigathi Gachagua was impeached. Immediately Uhuru Kenyatta discovered that Chebukati was a problem. Why didn't he, ensure that, Chebukati was removed? What was hard to ensure that, Chebukati is removed as the chair of the Electoral Commission?
This Uhuru and Chebukati, they go way back. Let me give you an example. If you remember 2017, IBC is supposed to be independent. I mean, the name is there, Independent Electoral something, 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 okay? We lost. Wangira, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Imagine.
Okay, I saw you dropped a little bit.
So imagine the first thing that, William Samoei Ruto did when he was sworn in as the President of the Republic of Kenya was to do away with the Cherera 4. You remember the Cherera 4? So if William Samoei Ruto could do away with the Cherera 4, what was hard with, Uhuru Kenyatta to do away with Chebukati? There are mechanisms within the constitution that, Uhuru Kenyatta could have used, to do away with, Chebukati. He never deployed, those particular mechanisms. And, it worked against Raila Odinga. So, some of us, tend to believe that, perhaps, Uhuru Kenyatta never he did not work hard enough to say that, Raila Odinga became the President of the Republic of Kenya, because he was the incumbent, he had the state machinery, but he never deployed them to ensure that, the man that he wanted to become President of the Republic became the President of the Republic. And, that's where, some of us seem to have a disconnect with Uhuru Kenyatta, because, we don't believe that, he played the role in the manner that he was supposed to play that role.
Yes. And like I was saying, in 2017, remember after the first elections was nullified, Maraga said there's reasons to believe that this, the elections were not, did not meet the threshold, the constitutional threshold, which means it was not transparent, it could not be verifiable. So he wanted the IBC to be reconstituted. Then there'll be after that, there should be he recommended actually. Then we'll have another re-election, okay? So, if you remember, Uhuru summoned Chebukati to come to the State House and basically told him what to do, right? Then the re-election happened on Uhuru's birthday, where, if you remember, Raila did not participate in that because the IBC was not reconstituted and all that stuff. All those steps that were supposed to be taken before that were not taken. So what I'm trying to say, and to your point, just to reaffirm what you're saying, Uhuru, given the power that he wielded at that time, the influence, the state apparatus that he had, if he really wanted Ruto to lose, he would have done it. Okay? Whether by using, some dark arts, skullduggery methods, or whatever the case, he could have done it. And just to reply to my friend Harun, who's saying that Uhuru was mandated by the constitution to hand over power, I say this, Uhuru, knowing that he never quite respected the constitution, that's the argument I was making, he would have simply said, hey, listen, there's evidence that this election, something went wrong, Ruto played dirty, so we cannot have this. I cannot hand over this power because the elections does not, whatever. So every signs, as you've said, Mr. Wangira, points to Uhuru was reluctant. It seems like to me, and even Babu Owino and Gaucho, right after elections, he's the one who phrases this. He came up with this phrase, the long con game, because they said they played Baba for him to lose, set him up to lose, but they pretended him and Ruto pretended to whatever. So again, to me, it's not even a suspicion anymore. I think it is something that was planned between these two, and the way they were interacting after that, this was done deliberately to fool Raila. But of course, Raila always have the people, so he forces his way back through the back door, through Mandamano and all that stuff. Don't you think?
Uhuru Kenyatta was the president of the Republic of Kenya up to, I believe, the 13th of September 2022, when he handed over to William Samoei Ruto, which means, he enjoyed, all the powers that, come to the presidency. And, I believe that Uhuru Kenyatta was getting what we call, the intelligence briefings. He was in charge of the police, and he was in charge of the entire security machinery. You remember, when Chebukati and team went to print, I believe there were some forms, I think there were the forms 34s. You remember there were two sets of forms that were delivered by Chebukati, and I remember that then the director of DCI, now George Kinoti, detaining, part of the consignment at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Why didn't Uhuru Kenyatta smell the coffee at that particular point, that not all was well? Because he was the president of the republic, he was enjoying, the intelligence briefing, he was in charge of the security. Why didn't he smell the coffee? And being the president of the republic, Uhuru Kenyatta, we didn't even need to reach that point of whether, you are handing over power or not handing over power. Because if you reach that point, whether you are handing over power or not handing over power, it's too late. There's very, very little that you can do. But, before we reach that point, what was he doing? Because I believe as the president of the Republic of Kenya, when George Kinoti, who was the director of DCI at that particular point, got, two sets of, forms that were being brought in by Chebukati. And I understand that these were the forms that were used during the electoral process, to ensure that Raila Odinga never won this particular election. So at that point, when they discovered that there were two sets of forms, when we were supposed to have had one set of forms, that was the time that, Uhuru Kenyatta could have influenced George Kinoti to have Chebukati arrested and to have Chebukati charged in a court of law. And immediately Chebukati could have been charged in a court of law, he could not have conducted this particular election as the chairman of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. And now you see that's where, Uhuru Kenyatta, messed up, they were all, the signs were very, very clear. And he never took advantage of those signs. The indicators were there. They could have arrested Chebukati, claimed that he went against what was supposed to be the procedure of printing the forms, took him before a magistrate, charged him, and he could not have conducted this election. And that could have given the lady called Cherera to now conduct the election, because he was the vice chair. And I don't know why, Uhuru Kenyatta never saw that. And I don't understand why he never used or exploited that particular avenue to see that, Chebukati never oversaw, this particular election. And that's a problem that I seem to have with Uhuru Kenyatta, that perhaps, he never worked hard enough to see that Raila Odinga became the president of the Republic of Kenya.
And even after that, when there was those protests, against the said, rigged elections, there was at no point did we see Uhuru Kenyatta come out in those Mandamano and address the crowd and say, hey, this is not a fair elections. Nowhere. We just had, he kept on sending, whether it was Wamalwa or whoever, Kioni, to say, hey, anyway, I'm supporting you guys, but he was never there to be mandamanaring, against the results. But I understand, because he was the head of state, former head of state, so it will look funny, but still, he was the head of Azimio, so to speak. So that is another thing. Now, this is the reason why I say, if we continue in the same trajectory, of course, we had the incident where, Uhuru was complaining that his house was raided and all this, and he was being taxed. And I feel like going into 2027, I have a feeling if there's nothing to disrupt the what is going on as far as the politics is concerned, all these shenanigans that's going on with Ruto, the Gen Z, if they don't disrupt whatever is going on, we are going to have a second term of William Samoei Ruto. He might not win fairly and squarely. The election might not be verifiable or, what do you call it, open so everybody can see. But he might win because I suspect still he has Uhuru in his back pocket. They're friends behind the scenes. And another question too for you, Mr. Wangira. What do you make of the former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, showing up at that event uninvited? I don't know. If it was me and I knew that the president didn't want me to be his deputy, okay, and organizes this whole unconstitutional process to remove me from my position as the deputy president, why should I come to an event that he will be there and I'll be seen and I'll be, ridiculous? I mean, he was walking on mud like a madman. I mean, it was just if it wasn't for the people who were cheering him on, it just didn't look right. What do you make of that? Do you think this is just a little bit odd?
Let me start with the last question. I think that, the presence of, Rigathi Gachagua today at the concentration of that particular bishop in Embu was, a necessary move because, he stole the show. Rigathi Gachagua stole the show. And, when you are in politics, and you are enjoying sympathy, you want to enjoy as much sympathy as possible. And, today we saw, Rigathi Gachagua enjoying more sympathy. In fact, he was applauded, more than anybody else, perhaps, next to Uhuru Kenyatta. And, that shows that, the people of Mount Kenya, are pro-Rigathi Gachagua. Look at what happened to William Samoei Ruto. He was booed. When he tried explaining, the housing fund, he was booed. When he tried to talk about share, he was booed. So, the guy stole the show. And, stealing the show is a good thing in politics. On whether William Samoei Ruto can win the 2027 election, I am among the people who are convinced that, that unless he goes the Kibaki way of 2007, William Samoei Ruto is not going to win this election. I've looked at the factors, and they are telling me otherwise that 2027 there's no likelihood that he's going to win this election. I've seen a tweet by Grand Mullah saying that what transpired in Embu today was a clear signal that he has lost Mount Kenya. In fact, anasema kwamba hiyo imeenda, so he has lost Mount Kenya, and that he should now concentrate more on Nyanza and Western Kenya. Personally, I come from Western Kenya. My home county is Busia. That's my home county. So I understand the dynamics of Western Kenya. You cannot dump, a basket full like the basket of Mount Kenya. Then you come for a basket that is almost empty, called Nyanza or called Western Kenya. Our people have never known to take, they were never taught to take, elections as a serious business. They never take elections as serious business. In fact, I've done a post on my Facebook page where I was looking at the numbers in Homa Bay, Homa Bay, in Migori in 2022. Remember, Raila Odinga, according to the statistics, he lost elections by around 200,000 votes. That's the number we are told that he lost the election with. Assuming that those were the numbers, that there are two numbers. In Migori, there were 466,000 registered voters. On the election day, only 302,000 people voted. That tells you over 160 people did not vote on the election day. You know, the number of registered voters is low. The turnout is always low. Compare it with Kiambu that had 1.4 million registered voters, and their turnout was over 80%. You look at those dynamics. And I was telling somebody that, you know, let me just finish, then you'll ask me that, you know, these people, you know, even when Raila Odinga has been running, you know, the turnout has still been low. It has always still remained low, even when Raila Odinga has been running. You know, it has always been at between 64, 67, or if it's lucky, 70%. So assuming that Raila Odinga is not running in 2027, what will motivate the people of Nyanza or the people of Western Kenya, you know, to wake up, to go and vote? So I look at a turnout in Western Kenya and Nyanza that will be between 50% to even 47%. And with 50% or 47% of the registered voters, you know, coming to cast the vote, and, you know, not everybody out of the entire lot will vote for you. That tells me that, you know, William Samoei Ruto cannot win that election. He cannot win that election. Secondly, the people of Mount Kenya, you know, are mad with this gentleman. So they will be going to the ballots to punish him. So, you know, the turnout, you know, in Mount Kenya is likely to remain large compared to Western Kenya and Nyanza. So we are likely to see a turnout of around 80%, 85%, 87%, or even 90% in Mount Kenya. So, you know, unless this guy does what Kibaki did in 2007, you know, and all factors remaining constant, I don't see how he can win the 2027 elections. Perhaps you have a miracle, another miracle that, you know, you have come across, that you can perhaps let us know that he'll use to become re-elected for the second term as President of the Republic of Kenya. So let me just keep quiet and I also listen to you.
No, there's no miracle, but knowing how things work, the winner never usually wins in Kenya. But this is the thing that I always find this whole notion that the people of Nyanza or Western do not come out and vote in numbers. I don't know how verifiable that assertion is, because if I'm looking, let's use Nyanza for example. If you look at Nyanza, they're the most enthusiastic voting bloc for their candidate Raila Odinga for the past two, let me just say two, wait, not the last one, but the previous one, 2017, 2007, 2013. I mean, you can see it's almost you know, a moment of neurosis. If you look at them, how they love their leader before some of them felt betrayed in 2017. So for me, when people say Nyanza always do not show up for their, you know, when it's the day of voting, or the registration is low, or there's high registration number, but the people who actually come out and vote is low, I tend to question that, because even if you compare with their counterparts in Kiambu, or I mean, let me just say Central, okay? Central is tricky. Yes, they usually vote in a certain way for their person, but you can't compare if you're looking at just based on the enthusiasm between the two voting blocks. These people, the Nyanza people, for example, they are, it's almost a neurosis spree. They're crazy about Raila Odinga. So 2017,
can I
2000 and, yes.
Can I answer you? You know, the problem with Nyanza and Western Kenya, you know, is a problem of counting, you know, your eggs before they hatch. And, you know, it's a danger, you know, that, you know, you are counting your eggs before they hatch. And, you know, this is what I mean. For example, you know, the talk by Oburu Odinga in 2022, where he said openly that, you know, the only thing that we have been lacking to win this election, you know, is, you know, what we call the state machinery, the state power, you know. And now today, because we are assured of the state machinery, and because we are assured of the state power, we are now certain that we are going to win this particular election. You know, such a talk, you know, will make people now, you know, become, you know, overexcited, and they'll say, there's no need of going to vote because after all, you have already won this election. And that seems to be the problem with our people because they get excited. You remember when Raila Odinga went to vote in 2022, there were almost 10,000 people who were following Raila Odinga to that polling station. Ask yourself, when did they vote to get an opportunity to follow Raila Odinga, who was going to cast his own personal vote? So, this excitement among our people, is a problem. Is a problem. And again, the voter register. Look at the voter register. Numbers don't lie. For example, the total number of votes for, I think, Migori and Kisumu could not outdo the number of votes in Kiambu, because Kiambu was 1.4 million. I don't think whether Migori and Kisumu was 1.4 million. So, one county, 1.4. You guys, 2 counties, you are not even 1.2. So you are starting, from a disadvantaged position. So, our people must wake up, when they are told to register as voters and register in large numbers. That's one thing that they need to do. Secondly, they should not listen to the stories, that, we now have the state machinery, we now have the state power. And, go and cast their votes. I know many people who are having their good drink on the day of voting. Personally, I voted. But I know many people who are known to be personally, who never voted, but who are telling me that Raila Odinga has already won. So, that's where we seem to be having the problem. And like in Mount Kenya, if you watch the clips from Mount Kenya in 2022, old women like my mother, who is now 86 years, who are being carried to the polling station to cast their vote. Did you see an old woman being carried to the polling station to cast her vote in Nyanza or Western Kenya? Did you see any clip? But we saw those clips in Mount Kenya. So that tells you that, the Mount Kenya people, take voting as a serious business, unlike our people. And that's the truth.
Now,
and that's why I was telling you that, if William Samoei Ruto is going to discard Mount Kenya, and believing that, that Western Kenya can, fill the void that has been left by Mount Kenya, then I can tell you today I believe is what dead. Why am I forgetting the dead? That, there's a big likelihood that, coupled with many, many other things, William Samoei Ruto is fighting many, many fronts. There's the Gen Z, there's the poor economy, there's the shift is not working, the education model is not working. So, he has opened so many fronts, given those so many fronts, and is now discarding, the basket that gave him the most of the votes today. His likelihood of him being re-elected for the second time, where I stand, and, if the factors remain what they are, is almost nil.
Okay. There's 2 questions I want to ask you that is related. Now, for the Western voting bloc, I think it's a more complex a little bit. Maybe you might just expound on that, because I feel like Western is a rich voting bloc. The population there is high, but even within Mulembe Nation, I think there's factions within it. I mean, you have the Maragoli, the Teso, and also the Tawe people. They are the Musalia Mudavadi people. They are there's different communities who might not all see vote as one, okay, depending on who their leader, okay, is, or their perceived tribal chieftain is. And that's why I use the Nyanza one as an example, because Nyanza they kind of rally around Raila. Of course, there's a few people who might not vote for him, but he commands a lot of votes from Nyanza province. So maybe I would just like you to touch on that, and also to your question, I mean, to this whole voting thing, let's say the central versus let's say Nyanza or whatever the other parts of the country. 2013, okay, 2013 was an interesting election for me, because we were told that Ruto and Uhuru won. And I was trying to do the math. Now, if you look at let's face it, we have to go tribal here, as much as we like to divorce from that. But the main voting bloc for those two were the Kalenjins, Rift Valley, let me just use that. The Kalenjins, the Rift Valley, and Central, okay? Because of Nani, because of Ruto and Uhuru, of course, the two communities that they hail from. Raila pretty much commanded majority of the rest of the Neo of the country, with the exception of a few, other tribes, okay? How come? I mean, if we are to go by that, but that very argument that you're making, that Central always have a high vote, and Nyanza maybe not so much, and Western, how did this? How convincing is it that two communities, Central and Rift Valley, was enough to actually floor somebody who enjoyed support throughout the country, with the exception of those two communities? You get what I'm saying?
The answer is very, very simple. Because some of us who are looking at the numbers in 2013, critically, saw that problem at the registration stage. And you remember that's the time, Mutai Ngunyi came up with this phrase, tyrannies of numbers. Because, the numbers, even before, the vote was cast, at the registration stage, were disadvantaging Raila Odinga. Because, Rift Valley and Central Kenya, registered in large numbers, unlike, Luo Nyanza and Western Kenya. And that was a big issue, because, Raila Odinga at that point, and I was part, of the mobilization or system within Raila Odinga's team. I was even Secretary General of a lobby group then that was called Embakasi for Raila Lobby Group. And, our take was that, we try to convince as many people as possible to register as voters, which did not work in our favor, we people who are supporting Raila Odinga, as it did for Uhuru Kenyatta and William Samoei Ruto. So, with already Central Kenya and Rift Valley vote in their basket, they needed something to top up. And that's why, they went to Western Kenya and they did a few divide and rule there. They got a few votes, in Western Kenya. They also went at the coast and got a few votes at the coast. Then they went to Northern Kenya, where they did their jungle there, and they got a few votes from Northern Kenya. And that's how they won this election. In 2013, the number that was used to cross, the 50 plus 1% was only 10,000 votes. Then, Uhuru Kenyatta crossed the 50 plus 1 margin by only 10,000 votes in 2013, which means, had we worked, a little harder, we could even have forced a runoff. But we did not work hard enough. And, it was the same problem that, we found ourselves in 2017. In 2017. And, in 2022, we placed a lot of hope. In 2022, we placed a lot of hope, on the state power, on the state machinery. And, once again, it never worked in our favor. So I think, I tend to think that, our strategy, especially for some of us who have supported Raila Odinga, has been a wrong strategy, William Samoei Ruto and, even Uhuru Kenyatta, they had better strategies than, the ones that we had. We people in that time, we were called, then we became, I don't know what, and now we are the Mio, our strategies, were outdone by, what Uhuru Kenyatta, and later on, William Samoei Ruto had. Because, for example, in 2022, William Samoei Ruto never took anything for granted. He never took anything for granted. For example, agents, he ensured that his entire lot of agents were paid upfront. They were paid upfront. What was hard for Raila Odinga to pay agents? What was hard? And money was there. Money was there. What was hard for him to pay agents?
The money. Jeanette went with the money. That's what I had.
So you know, if you have poor strategy, because it's an election. In an election, if you go, even like in football, if your strategy is wrong, you never win. Like I was watching Kenya play Zimbabwe the other day with my son, and you know, I was telling my son that, you know, our Kenyan Harambee Star team seems to be like Raila Odinga team that can never win any particular batch, you know, because of poor strategy. You know, their strategies are wrong. You know, if you deploy, you know, they were depending on this guy called Olunga. You're depending on one guy called Olunga. You know, it's only Olunga. It's as if Olunga is the only player. You know, you must deploy, you know, proper strategy to win an election. And the problem that, you know, Raila Odinga has always had, you know, he's taking things for granted. You know, he's a popular guy. He's a guy that can win an election. And I believe that even in 2027, if he was to run, he still has chances to win an election here. But, you know, the strategies that, you know, the strategies that he deploys are always wrong strategies. And that's the reason that why he has never become President of the Republic of Kenya.
To me, with Ngunyi, you know, he's very partisan. So I won't take his reports, his whole tyranny of numbers. I will take it with a grain of salt. And also, I understand what you're saying about the strategy, which is okay. But 2017, even 2013, remember, if the matter went to the courts, and I think it was, what's his name? I forgot, before Maraga. I forgot his name. That's Justice. But anyway, he ruled that Nani, what's his name? Raila lost on a technicality because they had some evidence that they brought that evidence after the time frame that you're supposed to bring your evidence in. And that actually made them lose the case. 2017 also, I think it was clear as day. In my opinion, I think even if you break down the numbers, you have to, in my opinion, again, I think most of these poll numbers and all these people who crunch down these numbers, they are partisan. So they will do so to actually sway the voters to think that, okay, these people are going to win. For example, if Ruto wants to do something, the Kibaki thing in 2027, he will start paying these pollsters to come out and make polls saying that, he's gaining support in Central Province, he's gaining support in Nyanza, or whatever the case is, those places that he knows is not popular, in order to sway, discourage people, the people who don't actually like him. They will think, okay, this guy is going to win because his numbers are surging in places like Central Province. But the reality is that he's not. So I'm usually very cautious, okay, very skeptical about this people who come out with this tyranny of numbers and all that stuff, because they are, they have their own thing. And to me, 2017 is one election that was so clear that Uhuru lost. It was so clear that I don't know how you cut it. You can slice it the way you want, but to me, he lost fair and square. But again, we know what happened. I was about to ask you about the second part, which is the Western Kenya, since you come from there. Do they rally around one political candidate, or is it fragmented with everyone going through their because I feel like, just like you said, if Ruto is banking on the Western Kenya and Nyanza, it's tricky. But Western, I think it's a huge number. I think they're third most populated place in Kenya, or something like that, second or something like that. But they don't vote as one. Or maybe you can correct me. You have every different faction. You have the Watangula, you have the Munavadi. At least now they're getting along. But, you have the Tawe person, I forgot his name. You have different factions. What do you think? Are they going to be a voting bloc that will rally around and say Ruto Tosha? Or go ahead.
Let me say this first. Let me start with what you have brought up first. The 2013 election, where we were kicked out because of a technicality where a 900-page affidavit was filed out of time. Why? Yes. You know that you are battling a presidential petition if you are battling a presidential petition and you want to file a petition, why can't you have a good team that can enable you file every required document on time? And again, I have this belief that, elections must just be won at the battle. There's this book by my sister, the lady I grew with in Homa Bay, called Millie Odhiambo, called, it's called rigging or rigged or being rigged. It's called rigging. It's something rigging or or being rigged. So in elections, whether it's through rigging or through a clean game, elections must be won at the ballot, because history has shown us that if you want to rely on the courts to overturn an election, then that becomes a very difficult job. You remember the Al Gore and the Bush case in 2000, where Al Gore went to court. He even went to court. And how did it end up? How did it end up? And that's a clear case that anybody can refer to. Because many courts all over the world are reluctant to overturn presidential elections. They are very reluctant to overturn elections. Very few courts anywhere in the world overturn elections. I don't know even whether in the American jurisprudence, whether we have a scenario where the court has ever overturned a presidential election. I'm not very sure. I'll research and try to find out. So on our people, on our Murembe people, the people from Western Kenya, when if you look at, for example, Rift Valley or Central Kenya, when they go to vote, it's always a do or die. You get it? It's a do or die. But in Western Kenya, there's nothing like do or die. There's nothing big that people are taking to this election. And that's why if you go, for example, in my own constituency of Budalangi, that's my home constituency, you'll find that, as much as, Raila Odinga got more votes I'm talking of 2022. As much as Raila Odinga got more votes in Budalangi, but you'll discover that, still, William Samoei Ruto ran away with around 9,000 votes in Budalangi. So, there's that tendency of people not having a fixed mind that they can vote either way. And because, they have nothing to die for in those elections. And that's why, those patterns remain what they are. If you go, unlike, it's only Bungoma where, you find them, voting a particular way. And, there's a history to that. Because, they believe that, Raila Odinga, mistreated their son, who was the late, the late vice president, Kijana Wamalwa. They believe that, Raila Odinga frustrated him when he was, in Ford, Kenya. So, and that's the reason why they keep on punishing Raila Odinga. But if you go to these other constituencies, especially in Busia and Kakamega, there's no guarantee that people will vote one way. As much as, Raila Odinga could end up with 70% or 65%. But you'll find that, on the other end, William Samoei Ruto will go with 30%. So, and those are the gaps that, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Samoei Ruto exploited in 2013. Because they discovered that, the numbers were favoring them, in Rift Valley and in Mount Kenya. So they did just something small to top up. And, they went to Western Kenya, they got something small that they topped up. They went to Northern Kenya, they got something small that they topped up. They went to the coast, they did the same. They even went to Kambani and they got something small that they used to top up. So, the dynamic, the strategy, just like I've told you that, the strategy must change. And, I'm seeing, William Samoei Ruto, buying into old Raila Odinga's strategy that has made him, lose elections 3 times. The strategy of believing that, Western Kenya is your stronghold, Nyanza is your stronghold, and, the people will automatically vote for you. And, I see, William Samoei Ruto getting disadvantage. Remember that, Nyanza has never been his stronghold. Western has never been his stronghold. The people that made him become president of the Republic of Kenya are the people from Mount Kenya. And because he has fallen out with the people of Mount Kenya, he believes that, he can fill the void that has been left by Mount Kenya with the people from Nyanza and the people from Western Kenya, which is going to become impossible, because I see a serious voter apathy in Western Kenya if Raila Odinga does not run in 2027. And imagine, with a voter apathy that could go to up to 50%, in turnout, against Mount Kenya that could be doing, against Mount Kenya that perhaps could be doing 70, 80%. How will William Samoei Ruto win this particular election? Unless he does a Kibaki on us, where I stand, things tell me that, he cannot get a second term.
Is there any election that you feel Raila won? That's number one. And number two, in 2027, who do you think will beat William Samoei Ruto? Which candidates? Remember, this time William Ruto has the state machinery, he has the deep state, he has everything. And I don't think he will be as reluctant as Uhuru Kenyatta in 2022. Remember, Uhuru Kenyatta had no dog in that fight because he already finished his 10 years. So he was like, okay, whatever, whoever wins, wins. But this is Ruto having the state machinery, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, the state power. You think he's going to lose, and who is that person who will floor William Samoei Ruto in 2027? And so those are two questions. Which election do you think Raila won in 2027?
You have asked me a question on whether I believe there's an election that I believe that Raila has ever won. Yes, I do. I believe that Raila Odinga won the 2007 elections. That's the first time I voted for him, and I believe that he won that election. And I've looked at the Kligler report, and Kligler was just shy to tell, Mwai Kibaki that he never won that election. Because if you read that election, Kligler will try to quote it by saying that, after analyzing all factors, he cannot tell who won or who lost. But, experts are telling you that, what Kligler did not want to tell Kibaki, he never just wanted to tell Kibaki that, you gentlemen, you lost this election. And all factors were clear that, Kibaki lost the 2007 election. Even look at the number of members of parliament, that at a particular time, ODM had the largest number of members of parliament. Even, after incorporating what was Kalonzo Musyoka's number, they could not come anywhere near where, ODM was. So I believe that Raila Odinga won that particular election. 2013, 2013, let me just try to analyze those elections. 2013,
right.
Something tells me that Raila Odinga did not win the 2013 election. He never won the 2013 election. Something tells me he never won that, because I looked at the numbers, the number of registered voters in 2013, and they were never favoring him, because Raila's strongholds, were at that particular time were Nyanza, then and Kisii was not Raila as such. Kisii was not Raila as such. So they divided. They divide Kisii. They divided. Uhuru Kenyatta took part of Kisii as Raila Odinga took part of it. Kuria, that is in Migori County, has never been a Raila stronghold. So, that was where the issue was. So, looking at the number, so Western Kenya, so he relied so much on Western Kenya and Nyanza. And then there was the coast part. And if you go to the coast, they even poor voter registry, they don't take, voting seriously. Look at their numbers. Look at Kilifi. Look at Kwale. Look at the numbers in Kwale. Look at the numbers in Kilifi. Look at the numbers even in Taita Taveta. Those were not numbers that were going to make Raila become president. So I tend to believe that 2013 Raila lost that election. What I'm not very sure about, because, that was an election that was nullified on what they call irregularities and illegalities. The 2017 election, it was nullified. But, I think that, perhaps Raila Odinga could have won the 2017 election. But now coming to the 2022 election, my brother Raila hapo aliweka mchezo mwingi. You know, he took everything, you know, what you have now called, you know, you are calling it the deep state. You know, after he was promised the deep state, you know, he was promised the deep state. After he was promised the deep state, he took so many things for granted. For example, agents, you know, some of us were even ready to volunteer our services for free. Why was he not having agents in certain areas? Why was he not having agents when, you know, the person who was supporting him was the incumbent? You know, that's why I'm telling you that kura ya 2022 Raila hapo kulikuwa na mchezo mingi. And, you know, let me tell you, there's another problem. This a factor. Let me just tell you this, then perhaps you'll come in. You know, there are people who are always in the Raila team. And they're in that team not to support Raila to win an election, but to make money. There are people who are always there to make money. For example, you have told me that, you know, Junet Mohammed had money to pay agents. Why didn't he pay agents? And where did this money go to? Ask yourself, where did this money go to? And like, you know, the William Samoei team, you know, that was focused in ensuring that every worker that, you know, served in that particular election was paid. You know, where did the money go to for the agent? You have just told me that it was Junaid who had that money. Where did it go to? Where I voted in the polling station, where I voted for Raila Odinga, you know, UDA agents, you know, were even lending, you know, Azimio La Umoja One Kenya agent, you know, a packet of milk, you know, a loaf of bread, because you know, there was nothing to eat, you know. On their side, there was nothing to eat. You know, why do you want people to serve you well and you cannot even guarantee them a simple meal of a packet of milk and, you know, a loaf of bread? And that's why I'm telling you that kulikuwa na mchezo mwingi in the Raila Odinga team. People ate money. And, you know, it's true. Some of us complained. We said that people were not serious in ensuring that Raila Odinga wins. You know, they took advantage of the resources that were there and they ate money. And, you know, that could be one of the reasons that why, you know, Raila Odinga never became president in 2022. Coupled with, you know, what I've told you, you know, the Uhuru Kenyatta reluctance, you know, to support Raila Odinga fully. You know, those are reasons that, you know, that made Raila Odinga not to become president in 2022.
I think Ole Kanchori wrote a book. I don't know if you read it. You had a chance to read it. I haven't. But I had him on time. He was explaining in an interview because he was one of the, you know, people in the, what you call, situation room in Raila's campaign. And he explains the very problem that you're mentioning about the failed agents. But in his view, he said that the Azimio, the Jubilee side of the Azimio coalition, wanted to take charge of the whole campaign, not campaign, but the agency factor, okay? He feels that the Jubilee infiltrated Azimio, okay, to bring it down. That's basically his basic premise, that, you know, the Jubilee faction of Azimio came in and worked to make sure that Raila doesn't win that election. So that is that. With regard to Junet, that's something that people were saying, that Junet, you know, was supposed to pay some people and he didn't pay the agents, and that's why, you know, there were no agents in every part. So yeah, in 2022, sorry, this past election, you can argue that there was, you know, sabotage maybe, but by all evidence, indications, I don't see any evidence that supports Raila winning this election. I haven't seen it. Even, you know, every polling station, because the elections is supposed to be declared at the polling station. And if you were to add up the polling station, Raila Odinga was not winning. But again, 2017, to me, in my opinion, I think he won fair and square. 2013, he probably won, but you make a good point. You ask, why did they present this affidavit knowing that there's a, you know, time limit as to when you can present that? So that I agree. 2007, I also agree Raila Odinga won. And Kriegler could not come out and say he won, because the judges are supposed to give a report and be partial. He cannot say that somebody won. So I agree. Even Maraga, if you look at Maraga's ruling in 2017, he never said that Raila won. He just said that there are reasons to believe that, this election was tampered with. It's not, it's not transparent. It cannot be verified. So to endelea, because he cannot decide that. It's the IBC that decides the winner constitutionally. So, Wangira, anything you want to add on that before I bring in Melchizedek? I see him here also.
Kindly bring him in so that you also listen to his part, and then I can come in later on.
Okay, fair enough. I am Melchizedek. Na kuona uko huko Golgotha. Karibu sana.
Asante sana ndugu.
Hali yako? Uliona leo mambo ilifanyika huko Embu ama ndio umetoka Embu hata wewe?
I've just landed. You know, we Luos, we don't travel. Yeah. I've just landed.
You know. Okay. Maoni yako of what happened in Embu? Ama anything we are talking about in general?
I didn't watch it actually because I was very busy at work. I just heard people say that there was heckling and they didn't allow mtu wa mlima aongee, so it was unfortunate, lakini I heard few people talking about the election, but I don't know specifically which area were you tackling. So I just get in right now because I just came back in the house. So I don't know what is happening, and maybe if you brief me so I can say something.
Okay. So basically I'm in 2027, the way I see things, in my view, I think if the Gen Z, Gen Zoteders do not interfere with how the political process is, I think Ruto will win. He will not win fairly and squarely. Atafanya ile kitu na atashinda. I suspect that him and Uhuru are not enemies as we might think. In fact, I will lump them together, him, Ruto, Uhuru, Ruto, and Raila, because remember, just today, Raila's sister has been appointed to be, I don't know, the head of fisheries or something fisheries. And Kidero also have been appointed as, I don't know what, Kenyan trade nonsense, whatever. Kidero is Raila's friend. So in my view, I think, these three are probably together, and I don't see anyone who can beat Ruto. Of course, the country want him out and will probably try to vote him out. But if we go to elections with the system that we have, we are not going to win. The elections that we were talking about, we were just basically talking about whether Raila won those past elections or not. But you can just speak on whatever. And just to answer you very quickly about Gachagua, Gachagua did not speak because Gachagua was not on the orodha ya kipindi. Remember, Gachagua now is raia, so he was not there to speak. So alienda kakaa tembea kwa matope, but he was cheered on by the people. So
now I get the point. First of all, I want to start with this gentleman. Before he was my baba, but nowadays he's a gentleman because of what he did.
He's still he's still gentle.
Yeah, he's still gentleman, but he's not baba anymore on my side, unless otherwise. I want to say that the guy has misused his career because the way he started this game, he was playing it very nicely, and even he won in 2017, 2013, and everyone knows very well that the guy won. But due to his greediness and sympathy and whatever, he lose everything. Let us talk about something which is taking place right now. because this is the beginning of things. If you see how this gentleman called Ruto is doing his own thing, is I can say the guy is somehow desperate, because if the crowd doesn't want you, which means that you don't have anybody to support you. So you rely on those who can convince people to vote for you. That's why he's trying his own best to appoint such kind of people, so that when it comes to the 2027, he will get someone to support him or to defend him, according to my observation. But Kenya is Kenya. The way Kisumu people say that now Ruto is pure like Pamba in quotes. So when we are still in the same scenario or the same thought, that each and every time when things happen, it's people are suffering, but we talk, but no action. When Gen Z are allowed to do this thing the way they want it, I'm 100% sure that Ruto will never ever get any vote. But if Gen Z allow him, he will steal again and become the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the president, the sixth, whatever. Because he's very smart in stealing, he's very smart in lying, and he's very smart in killing. So those three things, Ruto is number one. So when people are not careful with this gentleman, I'm saying it today and I will saying it 2027, that if people are not careful with him, he will rig, because the judiciary is in his feet, the parliament is in his leg, and the judges whatever is is a armpit. So if he say anything, all people are lying down. So the
After after
wananchi people,
after you
the
finish, I have just a simple question for you. After you finish, just one question.
no problem, I will answer. I'm very good in that. Uh, when things are going on like this, we need to stand firm and say the truth. And this truth that we want to say is, I'm not a truth man like the Gashagwa, but I'm saying the wananchi, because this is our country, and this is where we are born, and this is where we will be buried. So we need to think twice before 2027 reach. If you have a question, you can go ahead. I'm listening.
Oh, my brother, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Oh, from your accent, sorry for perhaps saying, you sound like, my brother from the lake.
Yes.
Hello? You are from the
Which
lake.
which lake? I'm from
So this is
Kenya.
my question.
Yes.
We were trying to look at the turnout, the number of registered voters in perhaps Western Kenya and Nyanza. Then the turnout during the election in Nyanza and Western Kenya, vis-a-vis, Mount Kenya. For example, if you look at, the turnout in the county of Migori in 2022, it was around 64%. That tells you that around 64%. That tells you that around 166,000 who registered to vote never turned out to vote at their respective polling stations. So this would be my question, my brother. If Raila Odinga was on the ballot in 2022 165 people in Migori did not turn out to vote. What will motivate people in Migori in 2027 to wake up and go and vote for William Samoei Ruto in large numbers? That would be my question.
To vote for Ruto or okay.
I am saying this is my
I understood.
okay. Let me refresh my question.
I get it.
Let me refresh my question. You know, William Samoei Ruto, having lost, Mount Kenya today, is now relying on Nyanza and Western Kenya, to fill in the void that he has lost in Mount Kenya. And, looking at the turnout in one county that I've given you, the county of Migori, you'll discover that in the county of Migori, 166,000 people who registered to vote in 2022 never turned out to vote. And that they never turned out to vote. And imagine they were voting for one of their own, who was Raila Odinga. They were voting for one of their own, who was Raila Odinga, and still 166,000 people never woke up to vote. So my question would be that now, given that, William Samoei Ruto is an outsider when it comes to, Luo politics or Western Kenyan politics, and, he's now relying on Luo Nyanza and Western Kenya, to fill in the void that, that has been left by Mount Kenya. What is likely to motivate people to wake up very early, the way we normally wake up to vote for Raila Odinga in 2027 to go and vote for William Samoei Ruto? That is my question.
Okay. I'm answering you in a simple term. I said that the guy by its name, the guy by itself called Ruto, it's someone who can do anything he likes. And if people does not think twice, he will won by stealing, killing, and abduction, because he already even make a law that even your ID will expire in 10 years. 10 years, right? So that is a self-explanatory, that if people does not think twice, he will still have the same thing that he had before. So we cannot talk about the turnout once we have not changed our ways. I think that point is very clear.
So
we cannot talk about turnout or turn up or whatever if the people by themselves does not see what is taking place. Because even if 2 people voted, and he will put 300, because he know.
Are you telling us that, unless William Ruto does what I call a Kibaki on the people of Kenya, you know what Kibaki did in 2007. Unless William Samoei Ruto does a Kibaki on the people of Kenya, his chances of being re-elected for the second time, are as slim as possible.
It's very clear. You are in Kenya. If you are not in Kenya, I'm very sorry to tell you this. If Kenyans does not change their ways, then the same thing will happen because of what we are seeing taking place in Kenya. No matter how difficult it will not get into your mind, it's very, very clear that whatever is taking place in Kenya, we have to think twice. And I will repeat it because
I think you're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I think what Melchizedek is saying is agreeing
I have
with you.
A final part. I have a final part of my question. Then perhaps this is the final part of my question. You have said that, you know, you used to call Raila Odinga Baba. You no longer call him Baba. You know, we seem to be into the same basket, because, you know, I was a Raila Odinga supporter until the month of June, when I felt that, you know, he betrayed the Gen Z cause, and that's when I moved out of ODM. So this is my second part of the question. You know, what do you think will be the Raila's role in the Ruto, whether he will be elected fairly or unfairly? You know, what will be the Raila's role in the Ruto's re-election in 2027? What do you think will be his role?
Goes to Aka.
Assuming he doesn't go to the AUC, Wangira, is that what you're saying? Your question implies.
If he doesn't manage to get that chairmanship, then he has to go home, because there is nothing he is doing there. Totally, he will go there as a ghost worker.
So, okay.
According to my
I think.
opinion.
Yeah. I think what Melchizedek was making the point that if we let things go the way they are going, Nani or Ruto will do the Kibaki, which is basically this. And this is what he was explaining. He'll basically inflate the votes that he gets in Western and Nyanza. So Wangira, while you might be right that, you know, the turnout might not be high in Nyanza and Western because of general voter apathy, but Ruto will make it, you know, he'll inflate the Nenio, he'll inflate the votes and say that, you know, he got 90% or 99% of the votes from those areas, and you know, rig himself back in. What will be Raila's role in 2027? I'm not quite sure. This AUC, I don't know if you will get it. I don't see it. I don't see it. And if he doesn't go to AUC, he will be in one of the coalitions. In my suspicion, I think he will be part of Ruto's gang going on to 2027. And they are fighting right now. They are fighting to change this constitution. So I'm also curious to see what kind of change they want to bring in this constitution. So Raila will be involved somehow, and he will be part of government, as he has always been since 2007. Whether it was bread-based, government of national unity, the handshake government, he will find himself, he'll wiggle in there, and if he doesn't find himself there, ataanza makelele na atarudi ninio, atarudi maandamano, and will force him there. That's what I think will happen. I don't know, but like I said before, Nani Wangira, Ruto has the state this time, so he's more dangerous than last time he was. Go ahead, Wangira.
You know, what I'll be keen to observe will be, you know, the Raila Odinga's role, you know, in the Ruto campaign in 2027. Because just like I've told you that, you know, the thing that, you know, that is making William Samoei Ruto stand today is Raila Odinga. Because if it was not Raila Odinga, you know, the Gen Zs could have removed him from office. And, you know, if it was not Raila Odinga today, you know, Rigathi Gachagua could still be deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. So, you know, William Samoei Ruto is hanging on the Raila Odinga's court. And it all depends on the goodwill. So, you know, I don't know whether, you know, this goodwill between William Samoei Ruto and Raila Odinga, whether it's going to be sustained up to 2027, you know. No. And even if it's going to be sustained, for the first time, are we likely to see Raila Odinga become part of the malfunctioning of our electoral system? Because, you know, he has always, you know, claimed to be a victim of the malfunctioning of the electoral system. For the first time, you know, are we likely to see him as part of the malfunctioning of the electoral system? You know, that is the question that, you know, the people of Kenya will be trying to observe and answer. and answer. But again, and again, this is my final part, then I'll allow you to come in. You know, the picture that has come out of Embu, and you remember Embu is supposed to be part of Mount Kenya East, which means that's supposed to be Kithure Kindiki's stronghold. But you know what has come out of Embu is scary for both Kithure Kindiki and William Samoei Ruto. That tells you that they have lost Mount Kenya entirely. What Grand Mula says, hiyo imeenda kabisa. So given that Mount Kenya hiyo imeenda kabisa, and we are talking of Mount Kenya, then if you add a county like Nakuru, then you go to part of like Laikipia, that gives you nearly 8 million votes. So nearly 8 million votes are gone, and without 8 million votes, now he needs to ensure that the goodwill between him and Raila Odinga is sustained, because at any particular point from today, if he loses that particular goodwill from Raila Odinga, then his goods will be as well as cooked. So he must ensure that he sustains the goodwill and that Raila Odinga supports him to the end. And Raila Odinga being the guy that we also know, we can reach 2026, and when he reads the size, and something tells him that William Samoei Ruto is likely not to win, and we are here, and perhaps times will tell. There's a likelihood that Raila Odinga, if he sees that William Samoei Ruto is not likely to win that particular election, Raila Odinga could come back to the ring and tell the people of Kenya that munajua blah blah blah, those stories that he normally tells me, and he could make it's very, very difficult for William Samoei Ruto to get the second term. So it's too early. It's too early to say that William Samoei Ruto can get it. But where I stand, and having analyzed things, and even what the people in Mount Kenya today are saying, people in Mount Kenya today are saying, and they're saying it openly, that they want Baba to lose the African Union Commission seat so that he can return home and they repay him in 2027. And do you want to tell me that Raila Odinga does not know that the Mount Kenya people are saying that he should lose the African Union Commission seat so that he can return to Kenya, and they repay him by re-electing him in 2027? And you want to tell me that Raila Odinga will not take advantage of that particular opportunity? The Raila Odinga that I know, Raila Odinga and William Samoei Ruto, it could be another rerun in 2027, if we are not very, very careful.
Can I say something?
Yeah, say something.
Okay. I'm still the same person that I used to say that we have been thinking that these old politicians, they can bring something good on our table, but we are wrong. Why am I saying so? Because of what these people have been doing since we get our independence. They repeat the mistakes that they have been doing it every now and then. And that's why we Gen Zs, we decided, we see this thing and say that this is enough. Let them now, we take our country back because of what we have been seeing these people are doing. When we are thinking about these people again, that they are coming back, we line and vote for them, we are very wrong. And we are doing the same mistake that we have been doing every now and then. That's why we're saying that we need very, very clear that we need to educate even our parents that doesn't know what taking place, so that when it comes to voting, they know the person that can help Kenya. So the issue of talking about Raila, Ruto, and whatever, these people, they have been messing up since we started we get our independence. Why can't we just see it? It's something that even a blind can see. Why are we wasting time and telling that maybe Baba will come back and whatever? This thing, if this is the only thing that we are thinking now, then we are going wrong every now and then. I know Wangari is like my father, but this is the time that we as youths, we need to be very smart so that we save Kenya. If we don't, Kenya will be like Djibouti, whatever. There is one country whereby we don't know even there is a president. And this is where we are going. This is where we are heading to. Because of these politicians that have been giving us the false lies, everything that they need to say anything. They come and give us money and they go on with their life. For us, we are suffering. If not so, we could have not been out of this our country because we have everything that Kenya needs to feed everybody. If I'm not wrong, we have everything, but the politicians that started these things are the people that killing us. These are the people that making Kenya to be like this. Let us not lie. If Baba come and stand saying that I want to be the president, let people say no, because we cannot say that Baba is the one that was the first person to say kuna maandamano. The second time Ruto ni msafi. Where are we heading to? Let us not lie. Let us not lie.
Okay. So
This is to make me to
my
be very, very upset if someone is talking about Raila in front of me, and this is the people that make people died for no good reason.
I wanted to say this. I think Ruto can sustain paying Raila because Raila, if you notice, if you study him, Raila likes having some kind of post, cheo. You know, he wants to go to the AUC. So if he doesn't make that AUC, that's why you see they are pushing for this change of constitution so they can give him a post, maybe, you know, prime minister or something like that, chief, whatever. But anyway, KK is here. He said he's from the central province and he disagrees with the Wangira on that matter, as you know, with the whole point that people of Mount Kenya want Raila to fail, so whatever. So KK will be here to defend that. Before I let him in, just to let you know, Melchizedek, Wangira is a young man. He's a youth leader in Busia, so don't worry about that. He's Gen Z. But KK, Karibu, defend yourself. Defend your Ninio position.
Sema habari zenyu.
Poa. Karibu.
Well, sijui Wangira ni watu wagani naongea nao kutoka Central. I'm from Central. I'm from where Gachagua is from. And there's no sane person who believes. You saw what happened in, I think in the place called Karatina or something. There's 45,000 signatures to recall the MP who voted to impeach Gachagua. That's, I think, Madeira, the central part in Karatina. So, in his place. So, I would like to know where Wangira, these people, anasikia, where they're from and wapi and how. But that's not true. In a nutshell, that's not true. You saw what happened in Embu. In Embu, even in Embu and where this Kidiki guy is from is not too far. And he was almost booed. When they called Gachagua, everybody clapped. When they called, they acknowledged Gachagua, everybody clapped. But when they mentioned Ruto, everybody kept silent. When I tell you ground is hot, it's burning hot. So I disagree with, respectfully, with Mr. Wangira.
Can I say something, my brother?
Yes, of course.
Oh, thank you. I might not be factual, but there are comments that I follow, especially from key social media people from Mount Kenya. A wall of a guy like Ahome Thuku. If you go to Ahome Thuku's wall, you see the type of comments that are there. There's this guy called Councillor Njohi. Or if you go to his comment to his wall, you see the type of comments that are always there. So I could be factual. I could also have gotten it wrongly, and because you're on the ground, I believe that what you are saying is true. But there's this point that we are saying. This one point that we are agreeing on with everybody on this platform, that when it comes to Mount Kenya, William Ruto has lost Mount Kenya. That's something that every Kenyan today is saying, that William Ruto has lost Mount Kenya. And now we are trying to, what we are trying to analyze here, and what we have been analyzing, is how will he fill the void that has been left by Mount Kenya? Because Mount Kenya votes are not small votes. Because if you go to the county of the Kiambu, Nyeri, Murang'a, then there's Nyandarua. Then if you go to Laikipia, and then Nakuru, you this are very big number. And this is a very big number. So what we were discussing is, how is William Samoei Ruto, how will he fill this void of 8 million voters, who have now discarded him? How will he fill that void?
Okay,
That's what I was telling you.
Mr. Wangira.
Yes.
What we are trying to say, and Mondo amesema hapa, hakutakuwa na any free and fair election. We have to understand that. So I get the premise that you are asking. It's a fair and a very genuine thing. But we don't live in that place now. We live in a place where this person decides the elections. You have to understand that. So the whole thought process of living in a system that works, it does not work. The judiciary is bought. The IBC is not even functional. Or it's functional when he wanted to function, like swearing in Kidiki. He was vetted, right? Somehow. But IBC doesn't exist. That's what he's telling us. In Madeira, kuna watu wanaenda nini kumimpeach. The same MP who voted to impeach Gachagua anasema hakuna IBC. That's Ruto speaking. That's how they are doing these things.
Then if I don't want to lose hope, because when I listen to you, you make me lose hope. It's as if there's nothing we can do, because you're telling me that there will be no free and fair election. The guy has bought the judiciary. Then what do we do? How do we deal with a person who has captured everything, and is a person that is not exercising our will? Because we are in agreement that this gentleman is not exercising our will. And here you are telling us that he has captured everything. Now how do we deal with him? How do we deal with him when he has captured everything?
Wangira, it's not like I'm sad. I'm being aggressive. It's just a mere fact. It's a reality. You can't live in a place where you're in denial. This is the truth. Wangira, ni ukweli kenye nimesema. Walimpeach nini Gachagua. Hakuna IBC. Kindiki was supposed to be vetted by IBC. IBC hakuna, but it was approved. Now they're trying to impeach an MP, to recall an MP, wanasema hakuna IBC. Which one is it? Which one is it? Do we have an IBC or we don't have it? Are we following the law or we are not?
I guess Wangira wants you to give him hope what do we go from here? We are, because he's saying you sound like it's doom and gloom. So what do we do from there? That's what Wangira, I guess, is saying.
I have an answer to Wangira. That's why.
Okay, go ahead,
Can I?
Melchizedek. What's the answer?
So go ahead, sorry.
Can I
Yeah,
tell him the answer? We have to do away with this guy first. Is when we can say that now we want someone who can fit the position. Is it clear?
Yes, but how do we do away with him? We can't vote him out. We can't use impeachment. How do we do away with him?
The way we started, we can same do the way we did it, but when we come together as wananchi, then we say this guy has to go, then it will happen. But when we are just talking, no action, then he will still be there. The only thing is unity and say no. I think that is a solution.
Wagera, are you satisfied with that? Is that giving you enough hope? Because you said the KK sounds like he's not giving you hope.
You know, without risking being called an extremist, the way I was called in the other end, you know, I want something tangible. I want something tangible, you know, something tangible that we can do. Because where I've listened to my two brothers, you know, we seem to be doomed. So what is this tangible thing that we can do?
Okay. Can I answer that? So, Mr.
Yes,
Wangira, unajua unasema you left Raila's bus on June 25th or something like that. The same thing. We were very, very close kutoa ujama. The more we have to go back to the street, nothing else will work. Hakuna mtu atakuja kutusave. So we have to go back to the street. On 21st, we're going back to the streets again. And we continue doing this until this person is out. Because nothing else is working. Nothing else is working. The courts are not working. This person is not working. And as we speak, he's doing out of madness at vaccinated cows. Kids, killing kids with polio vaccines, mpox. This person is not working for hana utu. I would say like Jagidube and Samanga, hana utu, you know, humanity. At least you can steal. I thought to complain, ignore. But he's killing. He's messing the whole system up, the education system. The whole healthcare system is done. So we are past a failed state. The only thing that will work straight, or if we believe in miracles, maybe death or something, or a Traore. But streets is where we have a job to do.
Wangira, I think we discussed the answer yesterday. If you remember, we started by, I know that you missed that session. I couldn't go ahead with it. Remember when yesterday when you came in with Miriam, and we talked about the first article of the Constitution. What does it say? And you ably, rightfully quoted it, where it says, the power resides with the people, right? The sovereign people. And they can exercise that power directly or indirectly. So we tried the indirectly one by delegating this power to the judiciary, executive, and judiciary and legislative, and it has failed. So expressing that power, exercising it, so not expressing it, but exercising it directly through popular revolution, maandamano. And I think I saw that on Martha Karua's page, which is saying constitution wasn't made to Ninio. What was the quote? Constitution was not made to protect people on power, but it was used for people to remove people from power, the leaders in power, if they don't follow the constitution, something like that, to that effect. So, like I was saying, the popular revolution, just like KK said, tukienda maandamano na tumtoe Ruto the way Bangladesh, that's actually constitutional because everything else shan't, have failed. I don't know if that's tangible enough, or is it reasonable? Is it pragmatic? Or do you feel that is still Ninio? Because it has been done. I mean, tulienda tuka occupy parliament. Go ahead, Mbwangira.
I get what you are telling me. There's this maxim in law that says, that the law is not made for man. Is it? I don't. I'm trying to rephrase it, but I know I believe you know it, that the law is not made for man. Man is not made for the law. Then the law is made for blah blah blah. That I'll try to get the proper phrasing of it. So
sounds like an axiom.
if you look,
sounds like an axiom, not a maxim.
So if you look at it, we are not supposed to be gagged by a constitutional system or a legal system that is not working. If a legal system is not working, then people have a leeway to look for another way. For example, that's where issues of legitimacy and legality come in. You remember before 1991, Section 2A was legal, that Kenya was supposed to be a single party state, but legitimately, Kenya was not a single party state. So issues of legitimacy are now coming in here. For example, there are people who are arguing that that after the 25th of June 2024, the legitimacy of William Samoei Ruto as president of the Republic of Kenya was put to question. There are people who are arguing, and these are legal scholars who are arguing that after people went to parliament and they did what they did in parliament, then that the legitimacy of his presidency was put to question. As much as he's legally the president of the republic, but legitimately, there is a question mark. And I believe, now what we are dealing with on this platform today is a legitimate question. It's not a legal question per se, but it is a legitimate question. Now, because we are dealing with a legitimate question today, how legitimately are we supposed to deal with William Samoei Ruto, given that, a majority of the people of Kenya are fed up with him? And it's a fact that, majority of the people of Kenya are fed up with him. And because the majority of the people of Kenya are fed up with him, there is a legitimate question hanging on his head. Then how do we deal with this legitimate question? That should be the point. And I agree with many of these people who are saying that we go on the streets. That is one of the one way of dealing with that legitimate question. And yesterday I remember telling you that my friend for a long time, PLO Lumumba, says that revolutions are voices for the voiceless. Today we have majority of Kenyans who are voiceless, because they don't have any other avenue to express themselves. And perhaps, the only avenue that they are left with today is the avenue of a revolution. And, the way things are, if we don't handle, especially if the leadership of this country does not handle things in the manner they are supposed to be handled, then perhaps we could be heading the revolution way. I'm not saying we go there, but we could be heading there.
Wangira, can I ask you a question? For the last 2 years, when has this government done anything right, the correct thing? So, because we have to be honest with ourselves. Like if you're for example, if you're in a bad relationship, you have to get to acceptance you're in a bad relationship and you want to do something, either leave or fix it. We are in that relationship. It has not been working for 2 years. Kila kitu tumemention hii mwaka. And on top of that, anaua watu. What has been working? So you can tell us to wait until when you think it's fair, and it's okay. It's a fair opinion. We can go back to the streets.
You know, you have gotten me wrongly. You have gotten me wrongly. I was very, very clear. I say that, where we are beyond what we call legality. What we are dealing with is a legitimacy question. This is a question of whether, this guy is now legitimate enough to lead us as the people of Kenya. Legally and constitutionally, he'll tell you that, he's president of the Republic of Kenya. But legitimately, there's that legitimate question, legitimately, do the people of Kenya, consider him as their president? That's what I'm calling, the legitimate question. What we are dealing with today is the legitimate question. The people of Kenya are dealing with a legitimate question. For example, in Embu today, people were shouting that Ruto must go. Ruto must go. That is a legitimate question, what the people of Kenya are dealing with. A legitimate question. And if you go to law, there is the way they define legitimacy and the way they define legality. There's a way they define legality. Legally, the guy will tell you he's the president. But legitimately, there are many people who don't consider him today as president. So, legitimately, how do we deal with him? How do we deal with this gentleman? And that's why I was telling you that, PLO Lumumba always says that, revolutions are a voice for the voiceless. And today, we have many voiceless Kenyans today, who feel that, this guy is not legitimately president, but, who don't know how to handle this particular situation. Then, how do we take it from here? That is the question, how do we take it from here? That should be now the question, because we have agreed that, legitimately, this guy, has an issue with the people of Kenya. But how do we take it from here, going forward?
So that's a question that we have been here for. I joined yet. Go ahead, sorry. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I just wanted to say this. Wangira, I hear you. It's a legitimate question, but also I'm saying a popular revolution, maandamano, is actually a legally, it's actually in the Constitution. We are, I know you've had this over and over again, constitutional democracy. A rule by the majority, we decide what the Constitution, this document that rules over us, okay? Not rule over us, but spells out how we govern ourselves, okay? So, if the majority of the people, okay, have lost, they feel like this government has lost its legitimacy, okay? Now, we the people, that's why I referred to Article 1. We don't have to change the Constitution to remove Ruto. It's still, we are covered in it. Because that's why I refer to Article 1. Article 1 spells out that we can either express our sovereignty and our power directly or indirectly. We've tried indirectly and it has failed. So by us, we the sovereign people, being the majority, demos, ruled by the majority, democracy, we go to the streets and say, Ruto must go, and he has to go and leave now, like the Bangladesh. He'll have to leave because now the people, we, the people, are saying, you have to leave, Ruto, because we don't want to. We are exercising our powers directly. We don't need our MPs to impeach him. We don't need the judiciary to see if he's legitimate or not. We are speaking directly and saying, Ruto, leave the office now. That's what I'm trying to say. It's legal. It's within our Constitution. It is in the article, the first article of the Constitution. And that's what I'm saying, Wangira. So it's not just a matter of legitimacy, but it's also a legal issue that is encompassed, enshrined in our Constitution. See what I'm saying? I hope you get what I'm saying there. KK, you had something to say, or Wangira?
We are speaking the same language. but perhaps in different expression, but it's the same language. For example, tomorrow, if 1 million Kenyans were to go on the streets of Nairobi and they demand that now through picketing, through demonstrations, they demand that they peacefully, as provided under Article 37, and they demand that they want to see this person out. They will be exercising a constitutional duty as the people of Kenya. As the people of Kenya. So I am totally in agreement with what you are saying. I am totally in agreement with what you are saying. I'm not disputing it because it is provided for under the Constitution and it has been exercised elsewhere. So there are even jurisprudences to it. So I am in full agreement. I am in full agreement with what you are saying. Are you there?
I can hear
you.
Yeah.
Mr. Wangira, so the question is, you raised a very good question. The question is now, tuko hapa, we are discussing our issues. We are not discussing issues that don't affect us, like we are spectators. We are talking about issues that affect us and our future generations. So the question to you is, what is the solution? We said all the other ways have not worked. What's you as a person, as a Kenyan patriot, what's the solution? Thank you.
In fact, it's me who raised that issue because we were discussing this issue then. I remember telling you guys that what you are telling me, it's as if there's no hope. But now listening to what my brother has just explained, and looking at what is provided for under Article 1 and under Article 37 of the 2010 Constitution, the rights to assemble, the rights to demonstrate, the rights to picket, there is a leeway. We as the people of Kenya could decide that come tomorrow we are pouring on the streets, and we are not leaving those streets unless this gentleman goes home. So there seem to be a way out. And that way out is there, and that's why I'm agreeing with my brother that all that we need is what that we need to do is to exercise, these provisions are provided for under the Constitution, or under the Constitution, in what he has told us that exercising our powers directly, and we can't exercise these powers directly by invoking Article 37, where we say we are not going to leave these streets unless you vacate office. It's possible and it's workable. And we have talked about Bangladesh, we have talked about Sri Lanka. So there are cases to this issue. So it's possible. So it's up to we, the people of Kenya, to pick it up.
All right. I see Kip in here. Kip, karibu sana. Then we'll go to Joe after that. Or somebody had something to say before Kip?
Yeah. I have something to say.
Okay.
Before I was saying something, but now I can see that Wangari is coming back to what I was saying, that when we as Kenyans we come together and say something that we don't want to repeat the mistake that we have been doing every now and then we have got a solution to save our country. Because I think he was not understanding what I was trying to clarifying, because once these things happen, we forget very fast because of some small money that we are being given by these politicians. Then we forget that these people are the same people that have been doing the same problem that we are facing. So I agree that once we want to do these things, like election, or we want to remove someone, we need to come together. And the only solution that will make these people to realize that we are very serious about it is to go to the street and tell them that this is the time that we don't want you to be there because of what you are doing. You are elected to help and make sure that things are running smooth in the country, but you are not doing the right thing. So is either they go, or we go in the street and tell them that they are not doing the right thing. That's what I wanted to add.
Thank you, Melchizedek. Keep Karibu back, and yeah, give us your opinion. Then we'll go to Joe. Then anybody that wants to jump in, your submission. You can start with it. I don't know when you started listening, but anything you want to say, maoni yako.
Yeah. Uh, Political future for Ruto. I think it's over. Unless atafanya ile kitu. His plot for this time was just top ups. Huh? So we thought that if we took care of, I know you're not on that side. When we were on that side, when we were with Raila at that point in time, because I remember you knew they were all evil, but I'm just trying to explain how we thought at that point in time. We were like, so long as we protect our strongholds, we'll be safe. Ata Panda Bay. So what we did not know is this guy had actually played some mathematics that got him to almost 200,000. Hata hakuonyesha ballot yenye ilikuwa imebaki. He just, that fool just announced him without, finishing the count. So what he was doing, he was topping up fake votes where it looked like almost 90% of a particular constituency had gone to, I don't know which part in the world that happens. 90% has gone to vote in Rift Valley, in Central. Unaona tu a situation whereby the presidential candidate has more votes than the Senate. In some cases, hata ameshinda MCAs, ameshinda kila mtu combined. It was some ridiculous, like sometimes, a data scientist will look at that and just say, nah, the math is not mathing. Even a social scientist would look at somebody who's not from that region is more popular than the senator. Is so more popular than, so unless afanye ile kitu, Central is gone just by looking at what has happened in Embu. We are looking at statements from certain people that are well known in the public, and they are stating that we're seeing, sometimes we see these things, but we seem to have our eyes wide shut. His collaboration with Ruto, Raila, is not an accident. Him giving these people from ODM seats, it started with him going to visit Orengo, going to visit Gladys Wanga, going to visit Simbarati, getting closer to these counties, strongholds of ODM, which means he had blessings. Gladys Wanga, Opio Ndaya going to the US with him. It just looks like he's actually calculating to have an alliance between people from my region, which is Rift Valley, and people from Nyanza, especially Luo Nyanza itself, and a bit of the very unpredictable region of Western. He's already got a few people, especially the Bukusu people. He's got them. The Bukusu people are quite traditionalist, and please, guys, don't think I'm being tribal here. The Bukusu people don't believe in people
No, it's
who are
okay.
uncircumcised. They don't believe in people who are uncircumcised, and they will never go for Raila. Please do not try and lump up a group of communities thinking they're the same. It's like my community, the Kalenjins. The Kalenjin, the statement Kalenjin came with just the other day. It's less than a statement. It's a group. It's a group of people that was lumped up by the colonial people. Sisi Josun, you know, we say Kale, Kalene, meaning how you doing. So they said people of Kale Njin. So we are lumped up. So I'm a Kipsigis. My mom is a Keyo. My dad is a Kipsigis. We've got the Nandi people. So that is how we are. So even now, when we look at Western people, don't lump them the same. They're not the same. Please, they're not. So he's going to now have a bigger block there that he can pretend are following. He's already gotten Wetangula, Musavandi, both from two different Luya communities. And then, of course, if Raila gives him the go-ahead, Gladys Wanga will say, take. He's got that block. Then he can pretend and do afanye ile kitu to Central. Now we've got Kindiki here. I mean, no, Kindiki has given me these votes, and it's going to be total lies. So that's the only way Ruto can survive an election. And another thing is this stupid NADCO report that Raila Amolo Odinga actually signed and endorsed has something in the bill that will come in bill whereby our voting stations will be mobile. How stupid is that? You come and vote, lori inatoroka na papers in. It just doesn't make sense. Now, just continuing from our conversation the other day, Raila Amolo Odinga is beginning to see the fact that his candidature for AUC is gone. That one we are seeing. I was trying to explain to people about the Franco nations. Now wanaenda washas decide what they're going to do. They did that to Amina. They're going to do the same for Raila. And again, the guy from Djibouti is Muslim. Muslims always move together. Again, I'm not being whatever it is. It's just a fact. We're Africans. We move in blocks. Very tribal, very community-based. And that's how we are. I wish we change that in the future. But at the moment, we are speaking facts. So, hata mkisema he's a Pan-Africanist, sijui he's loved, sijui nini. No. Most of the people he is campaigning for are corrupt like Ruto. They don't want a nice guy. They want a thief like themselves. So when he comes and tells us this stupidity, this actual garbage that CDF, MPs should not be CDF, first of all, why Raila Amolo Odinga, being the party leader then, now you're the so-called patron, why at that point in time didn't you enroll your MPs and tell them before or during the nomination period, tell them this is what we want you guys to do. I don't want you guys to touch that CDF money. Number two, when you go to parliament, send a bill that would stop the CDF money. If you find it dirty, you tell your MPs, tell your Azimio people at that point in time, hatutaki mshike your pesa ya CDF. If you think it's that evil, you cannot tell me that you're helpless towards the people that you lead. You cannot tell me you're helpless. You tell them not to touch. If that money is illegal, it's theft. They're stealing. Your own MPs are stealing. So you cannot. What does Raila want us as public people from public to say? Unataka tufanye nini? Yet you signed a report that's called the NADCO that has a lot of garbage in it. A lot of things that we expected from the Azimio side to have actually been implemented, yet none of it has been implemented from what we had asked in Azimio. Tell me one thing from the Azimio that have cost of living gone down. Has the server been opened? Has electoral justice been fulfilled? None of those things have been fulfilled. Only things that Cherargei comes and brings up here about seven-year term and garbage like that. Raila, you signed that garbage. And I'm not going to vindicate you against that. Ulifanya hiyo makosa. So wewe enda na Ruto zako. If you're gonna watch him go steal from us, when amekuibia, you say he stole from you. You're going to help that man steal from us. Thank you.
Thank you with your fiery speech. Let's get in Joe before we go to KK. Joe, karibu sana. You found me on X. I'm glad. So my campaign is going on well. Karibu sana, karibu sana. I would have loved you guys to put your cameras on, but I understand maybe you're somewhere where you don't want to be seen. So I won't stress on that. Joe, karibu. What's your view?
Na camera.
Hauna camera, we keep.
Wacha niweke kamera sahi.
Wazi. I know, hey, we ni mtu wa pesa. But Joe, karibu. Go ahead. Joe, can you hear me? Joe? Maybe your audio is kind of messed up. Can you say something? I can't hear you. Ama mnamsikia Joe?
Hatumski. But it sounded like Keep sounds the same as Joe. Because I heard, I'm going to keep it
No, it was Keep who said.
Okay.
Yeah, Keep no, Joe, can you hear me?
Ametoka.
Okay, maybe atajaribu kurudi tena. Oh shoot, I mean, message. Okay, KK, ulikuwa unasema nini? Naona umeanza ku
No, sizushi. Lakini
amesema can you hear me? Najua
Oh.
uzushi, but whatever.
No, unajua tukianza kuongea story ya Raila.
Amedrop.
Gachagua. Oh yeah, ni huyu. Okay. So, tukianza kuongea story ya personal people, that's when we lose our focus. Tukianza kusema sijui hii party, and I know some of us are here, they're not here, but there's some people who focus on that because that's their purpose. But tukianza kuangalia sijui hii party inasema hivi, sijui hii kabila inasema hivi, Gen Z walikuja wakafigure out the whole puzzle, and you still now want us to go back to the whole, walisema tuko tribeless, partyless, and leaderless. We have to move past this. Our enemy now is Ruto has to go. Anything that doesn't focus on that is a distraction, intended or not intended. It's just a pure fact.
Okay. I will defend them in this point. So zingine tuna mention hao watu to expose them. I mean, like again, I usually tell you this, KK, you can't divorce politics from personalities as much as I would like to, because that's how our politics work. I mean, ukiongea mambo ya Azimio, you just have to mention Raila Odinga. I mean, you can't get away around that. If you mention UDA, you can't mention that without mentioning Nani was Ruto. Okay, so I see where you at, and I'm with you. We need to move past it. I'm with you 100%. But again, when people are expressing themselves, they have to put these names and personalities and the charma, because that's where we are graduating from. We are gradually getting out of that. So we have to mention where we are. Then we go to it. Joe, is your audio okay before I go to Wangira? Joe, are you okay? All right. Go ahead. I can hear you loud and clear.
I'll just piggyback on what you just said right now. I mean, why does it have to be that way? Just because things have been a certain way, I understand, you need to crawl before you walk. Rome was not built in one day, right? You need to build things up brick by brick, but why not? Why do you have to mention these guys? Because a guy like Odinga has been there many years, and usually you guys know the phrase: if it quacks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Is he someone that you trust? You, Kenyan revolutionary, Raila? I mean,
absolutely not.
Let's put Ruto aside.
Absolutely not.
I don't know your politics, so please forgive me if that's a stupid question. I'm new to your space here.
No, that's fine. No, you're fine. Do you want me to answer, or it was a
No,
rhetorical question?
it's a rhetorical question, but I'm just curious, and I'm getting at something here.
Okay. Well, I believed in him till 2017, and I kind of figured out then that he was full of shit. And I've been on an anti-Raila, anything involved with him, a campaign since then. So here we are. And I've had fights with everyone, including Kip, about his,
we fought.
But
we fought.
The thing, yes. So the thing is, I think that we are on different. I mean, everyone is realizing this in different phase. Everyone is in a different phase of politics. Like, watu wanafungiliwa macho in a different time. Yani, everyone has their issue. So maybe, for example, I'll just use Kip as an example. Maybe Kip, it took 2027 when he realized that they were not really fighting for the cost of living to see that, hey, listen, this guy is full of shit. It will take somebody else in 2027 to see that Raila. See what I'm saying? So everyone is kind of figuring it out that these politicians are full of it. So, okay, if you want to try to figure out my politics, I am not supporting Ruto. I never supported him. When he was voted in 2022, I thought maybe he might be something. But once he started with the GMOs thing, when Bill Gates came in and went to Machakos, I think, whatever, I was like, all right, this is another puppet. And I've been on anti-Ruto campaign since then. So my politics is, I am for the truth. Who gets me excited in the political field in Kenya? Okiya Omtata is one so far. He hasn't done anything that has made me question him, but he's the best candidate if there was anybody. So, yeah. But I've always been consistent since, I don't know if you were in Motimbe and whatever. So that's where I stand, basically. And I like Miguna is more confrontational, but I like what he says. He's straightforward, he says it like it is, and does not shy away from an old school knuckling down as far as exchanging a spat or intellectual discourse. So yeah, that's where I stand. But anyway, I hope I answered your question. That was a long
no, that's fine. And
whatever.
That
So go ahead, Joe.
Insight. And I appreciate that and I respect it. I'm not going to claim to be an expert on all of the details that are going on in the country. But I have been attempting to follow things to the best of my ability, from the diaspora, of things going on back home since, everything with the protests went down. So having said that, and gentlemen, please feel free to interrupt me and, chime in. It seems to me, I don't know if you guys agree, that Ruto is at his political weakest right now. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but so it's probably more than likely that he's not going to survive until another term, or maybe something else will happen. And that being said, what comes next after that? Is there, because I'm sure you guys have heard these discussions of there being a lack of leadership in this movement that has sort of risen since the protests. I don't know if you guys have heard that, but I know I've heard that in Twitter spaces. Where are the leaders? Who's going to take the lead on this thing? And the reason I asked you about Raila, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do you mean the Gen Z movement?
Yes, sir.
The Gen Z move? Yeah, okay. All right, go ahead.
Right. So ideally you don't want these let's call these guys that have been there for decades, that have not accomplished a lot of good, filling that vacuum yet again. So what am I getting at here? I'm going to come full circle in that you guys, you heard about the protest that happened in Kenya, and then the Ugandans also attempted to organize a protest, and it was very much suppressed. And that I've been thinking since then. I've been thinking, like, you often hear this conversation about lack of participation from the public. And it's something not only in East Africa, but all over the world. But, I'm sure you guys have thought it for yourself. You guys are obviously, you're all very engaged politically. That's why we're here talking about this stuff. And, we all wish that you would have 100% participation because forcing change would be a lot easier. But I'm going to just keep it very basic. It seems to me that you'd have a lot more participation, but the average person, quite frankly, is probably just really afraid of getting hurt, getting shot by someone in uniform. So it's not a sexy point, but just hear me out, guys. It's not something that, I'm the first guy to think of this, but just hear me out. Those guys in uniform, those men and women in uniform, the ones holding the weapons, right? I'm not sure if there has been a sustained real effort of messaging towards those folks, because it's really, if there's a lot of smart people in Kenya. There's a lot of smart people in East Africa. You guys are on the spaces. A lot of really smart individuals in business. A lot of people that have been in politics. They know all of the history and all this stuff. There are people that can take a leadership position, but at the end of the day, self-preservation is the first law of nature, right? People, it's like, okay, I know there's a problem, but am I going to put my neck out there? There are some brave people that do put their neck out there. So to long story short, guys, I hope you see where I'm getting at with this is, I don't expect, a TikTok message to the folks in the KDF to do it, but I'm really thinking of just like sustained messaging towards those in uniform, that they're not, we're all in this together, right? Of course, they know the BS that's going on in the country, right? I think that, we saw what happened in Burkina Faso there, and it doesn't need to be that extreme, if you could call that extreme. But I think that, you can embolden those in uniform. I think that may be an aspect that hasn't been tapped into yet. Now, of course, that comes with great risk. If I'm a general in the military and, I'm, siding with those that are in the opposition of the government, that's very risky. But I'm certain within the whole of the Kenya Defense Forces, there are those that are having this idea, and perhaps some emboldenment could ripen that. I did have some other thoughts. I'm not sure if you guys would agree with that. I can't see you disagreeing, but yeah, I don't know if you have any comments on that. I did have some other thoughts, but yeah, I'll yield the mic. Thank you for letting me share.
Okay, no problem. I think that's a good point. Yeah, maybe we should start targeting the men in, like, the police. I think the problem is the police, but again, Ruto probably knows this. That's why he usually, he has a special force, probably people who is his extended family to, go out there and do the dirt. But
those guys have cell phones.
They
have access to the internet. They like if you
right.
If you have sustained messaging towards them, there's all kinds of talented folks that make, music videos, are involved in media. Like if that capability could be harnessed, aimed at, for a sustained period, I almost have no doubt that it would have a pretty decent effect.
Here's the thing. The last Mandamano, not the last one, there was one Mandamano that occupied JKIA, if you can remember, if everyone can remember. And the police were called in, and then the military were called in to help the police because the police were overwhelmed. And again, the military, when they got their CBD, whatever the case is, they started greeting the folks, the young men and women who were protesting. and they had a really positive interaction with the wananchi. In fact, it is said that the military were telling the police not to shoot the innocent civilians, the unarmed civilians. That's why it forced the acting IG to come out and try to talk to the people and act like he was friendly, because it is said that the military actually told him, listen, you need to stop your people from shooting whatever. And that's there's clips where people were singing tumependa majeshi, whatever the case is, and actually walk them to their neighborhoods. So yes, that's what I'm saying. To me, if we had a sustained maandamano, even a week or two, Ruto will not survive, because number one, he will call the military, and the military is on our side. And if once we have the military on our side, the police will probably turn against him. But Wangira umelala, I know you've been quiet for a while. I don't know, Wangira uko? I hope he's still up. I know it's late, whatever he is. Wangira?
Nico.
Yes.
I've been
Maoni
listening.
yako.
I was just here listening, and when I listen to my fellow panelists here, the more I discover that we as the ordinary people of Kenya, we seem to be on our own. We are on our own. For example, even the political leaders that we thought that are on our side, we have discovered that they have been bought. For example, the old man Raila Odinga, we have discovered that he has been bought. He's on the other end. So, as the ordinary people of Kenya, we are on our own. Now that we are on our own, what are we supposed to do? Because when you are on your own, and you are in a dangerous situation, then you must develop some way out. So as the ordinary people of Kenya, given that we are on our own today, we must develop some way out, out of this situation, because we are in a situation here and we are on our own. So we must develop some system out of that will allow us, get out of this particular situation. And I was looking at the voice of the church, and especially the Catholic Church. And the Catholic Church has a history of standing with with the vulnerable members of society. Look at what happened in Philippines, the way they stood with the people in Philippines. Until they removed that dictator in Philippines. In Congo DRC, the Catholic Church has been very, very strong. I remember in the early 60s, when the leadership in Burundi was largely a Tutsi leadership, and it didn't want to see any Hutu, get an opportunity. The Catholic Church stood with the Hutus in Burundi in the 1960s. So this is what I was thinking. Now that we seem to be on our own, the political leaders that we thought that they would stand with us, they have run away. They are not part and parcel of our struggle. I was thinking, why can't we also try to rope in the church? And when I talk of the church, I'm talking about the Catholic Church. Is it possible that we can rope in the Catholic Church, in this struggle, the way the Catholic Church was roped in Philippines? Because I believe already the Catholic Church has come out strongly and it has voiced itself. And they are saying that this is a government of liars. This is a government of people who want to silence alternative voices. And they are speaking the language that majority of the Catholic Church is speaking, the language that majority of us are speaking. So what mechanisms can we use to try and rope in the Catholic Church into this struggle? Because where we stand, the only people who seem to be pro us, are the Catholic Church. They are not the politicians, they are not the Pentecostals, but the Catholic Church where we stand today seems to be speaking, the language majority of Kenyans are speaking, So, the only thing that is remaining is to know how we can rope them into this particular struggle, that would be the question. How can we rope them into this struggle, the way they were roped in Philippines and the way they were roped in Congo DRC? How can we rope the Catholic Church in this struggle? That would be my question.
Good question. Before I go to KK, yeah, I think the Catholic Church are already sold in because I believe even Mandamano. Remember Mandamano when the Gen Z started Mandamano? The mosques were giving aid to the protesters, water and all that stuff. The Catholic Church, when people were running, they were running in these churches, whatever, downtown, and they came out and spoke in defense of the majority of Kenyans. So I think they're already sold. It's just that's why to me, I think this 21st Thursday Mandamano might be something as big as June 25th. Because Kenyans are starting to speak in one voice. The enemy is Ruto, and they're fed up with the system. So, but anyway, let me bring in KK. KK, you've been quiet before I bring in Kip2 is there, burning with a serious point with Martha Karua's face up there.
I don't think, I tend to think, and I would challenge all of us to go up. Let's see ourselves as maybe rest of us in the country. We are coming to find solutions. We're trying to figure out. No one is coming to save anyone. It will take all of us to save ourselves. That's just basic logic. We can all agree. We are waiting for judiciary to act. You can tell Kwame is gone. And the top is gone, so the whole system is gone. Ignore that system now. The executive is gone. Parliament is gone. We cannot, and I agree with. I want to respond to Mr. Wangira's point on what's the point? The church. The church. We are the church. Church in Nini. It's not the buildings. The people themselves, the congregates who go to church, are in pain, and this is why Catholic Church had to come out. We do not depend on church. While it's important, they spoke out. This is why we need to dissociate with all these things, parties. And I could be wrong. Parties, churches, religion. The people themselves decide. Then the other church they do their own thing. But we need us to lead us, ourselves. We do. No one is coming to save us. And this is where I want most people to understand. Hakuna mtu anakuja ku save anyone. And if you think that way, you get a lot. It's not gonna happen. Sisi wenyewe. You mentioned the 21st. This is where we are going, and it has to happen. And it needs to be the biggest of all. Because there's nothing saving us. And as we speak, this person is killing our own people. You don't know what he's doing with our animals, our kids. So I think we have to, church to support, but we, the people, have to do our jobs. We have to stop thinking someone is coming to save us. There's a bigger power. We are the power. The collective power that we have is what will save us.
Okay, that's a nice one. By the way, Wangira, the Catholic Church in Democratic Republic of Congo and Portugal has a terrible history. I was listening to somebody who was giving us was talking about Congo in Portugal. There's a guy in the 60s, I believe. Anyway, you do your research. I forgot his name. He was said to be like Jesus Christ or something because he was doing miracles and stuff like that. And I don't know if you guys have heard of him. What's his name? But anyway, they tried to kill him and all that stuff. And the Catholic Church were trying to kill him and stuff. I'll find his name later, but that's some story for another day because I know Kip is there burning, ready to burn the house down because he has become a radical nowadays. We like radicals over here. Kip, it's your Ninio. What do you say? What should we do? Like 20 mandamano it happen. Because Ruto really looked defeated today. Ukimwona hapo, he was trying to make a point, alafu watu wanamwambia, hey, Charlie, we've had that story before. Kuja na mpya. So,
Yes,
floor
there
is
are two
yours.
things involved. First, it is to do with the protests. First, we are not ready as Kenyans. We're not ready. We have been used to an old man babysitting us towards these mandamanos and giving us a timetable, which I don't think happens anywhere else in the world, where we have, okay, kujeni Monday, we have a specific date, tunaambia the 21st, tunaenda mandamano. KK will have a time to rebut, not to worry. We have a timetable ati sisa tuende Monday. Sijuzi ilikuanga 11th. Everybody must go. There's been a lot of warnings. It's I think we're deflated as Kenyans because the original Gen Z mandamano came out of it was organic, very organic. It was very continuous. What happened is something very terrible happened. These kids had never seen that in their lives, which was they saw brains in the ground. You can imagine how terrifying that must have been. These are young people seeing one of their own prime of their lives. I think I would be very devastated, my friend. I would be very scared to go on the streets again. Then the few brave ones that wanted to go for the next mandamano, the young ladies who were being harassed, sexually harassed, with goons that were hired by the government. They were being robbed. Down in my region, old men came to the streets to beat them up. So what I found is to have this to happen, it should be a mandamano similar to what you've seen in Sri Lanka, what you've seen in the Great Arab Spring, or any other one. It is continuous. It's not just 1 or 2 days. You cannot be thinking of tomorrow or whatever. KK, I know you're very passionate. I know you're very passionate. You're very passionate about where the world is going. I can see you're very angry. I can see sometimes you hate it completely and it frustrates you completely when we talk about local politics, we talk about individuals, and I know you want us to talk about the world. I know you want us to talk about the environment. I know there's a lot of things, KK. I know you want us to talk about that will
No,
satisfy.
keep.
Yeah,
It's not like I'm frustrated, but hata wewe jiulize, keep.
Yes.
Hata wewe jiulize.
Mm.
These things are happening.
Yeah.
We are losing people.
Terrible.
We are losing our people.
It's very terrible.
Sad.
Yes.
It's
I'm
very painful. It's very painful.
We are all feeling pain, but I'm just giving an opinion of myself, telling you from what I'm seeing with the
give
people.
Kip his time. We'll get back to it.
From what I'm seeing
go
with
ahead,
my
Kip.
people, we're not. Yeah, we're good. We are not ready. The time we'll be ready is the same way the finance bill. We all went without being told. We're on the streets. There was no instructions from anybody. And we achieved part of our goal, which was to go into State House. I even saw, and even during that period, I saw Gen Zs going now, having their own ideologies. Kenya inakuumiza unaenda kufanya. So they're going to their governors, doing their own mandamanos to their governors. Some went to their MPs to do their own mandamano in the MPs. And that is the kind of movements that needs to happen. That is the kind of revolutionary moves that Kenyans need to do. This is the revolution that we are not relying on a particular community. We're not relying on a particular region or particular area. So you'd find that the mandamanos that we've been relying on are either from Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa. When the country did the 30 counties, as we saw before, all the way up to Isiolo, that should continue. That is how a mandamano is. We shouldn't have online strategies telling us what we're going to do next. It's where mimic, like the day I would be taking a flight ticket, Kenya Revolution would be taking a flight ticket, and we are coming to Kenya to do mandamano with you. I'll say, just speak on behalf of myself, I'm a coward. I should be there with you guys. I should be fighting. Yeah. So KK, I understand your frustration. I understand how sometimes it might be like, you guys are not getting the message. You're not getting what we should be talking about. You're not getting where we should be heading. I feel you. I understand. But I'm telling you, before you can tell people, before you can actually action people towards that direction, it has to come from their heart. Because right now, we're finding people high-fiving Rigathi Gachagua. We're finding people still talking about Uhuru being a great president, yet he's the guy who stole elections. He stole elections for Raila. But we are calling him a good president because Raila shook his hand. It doesn't make sense to me. It just means that Kenyans, we still have a short-term memory. We're having people in Nyanza still allowing somebody that killed their children to come to their region to greet their leader. It just means we're still a bit brainwashed with colonial mentality, not realizing that these people are here to serve us. We are their boss, not the other way around. Until Kenyans realize that, we are not ready. So nikiona timetable ya 21st, we're going to be together here 21st. It doesn't matter which date. I have gone through them in the last 3 months. We've seen so many on Space. We've seen so many on Twitter or X Space. We've seen them. They've been announcing them. We've seen the posters, but nothing has come to fruition. So there's nothing special. I have to break your heart there. There's nothing special about this coming day. A few people will come in. The only time you'll see Mandamano is out of selfish needs. Maybe teachers are going, maybe student teachers are going, student doctors are going for their Mandamano. But I'm sorry, we're not ready. That is why I'm thinking, why I'm discussing 2027 is because I know I want this what do you call it, elastoplast to become off so that I can prepare people to tell you the man Ruto is stealing the elections. It was a big mistake to let him in the first place. Thank you. I'm still here for the rebuttal. Thank you.
Before I bring in Joe, KK, did you have something to tell? Cape?
No. Yes, I do actually. I can see Kip's angle when he expresses this way, and I like that. Express that way now. I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong because the ground. Some of us who feel ground, it's hotter than you think. That's what I'm telling you. And I agree. That could be right. That could be wrong.
That is encouraging. I want to hear more stories like that by the KK. If I hear that, I'm happy. So yeah,
and
go ahead.
Whether I'm wrong or right, it's okay. We'll be here. At the end of the day, we want one thing: a good home for all of us and our people. But I hope you're wrong.
Nitajitetea nikiwa hapa mheshimiwa. Ushasikia vioja mahakamani, utajitetea ukiwa wapi? Mimi nitajitetea nikiwa hapa mheshimiwa. But anyway, all right, Joe, you had something that you wanted to tell us. There was something that you said, that some opinion that you thought was going to be controversial. We might not agree with it. Share with us. Here we share the most controversial ideas that you might have, something unpopular. I have Kenya Kwanza supporters come here, ODM, Azimio, anything between, whatever. Feel free.
Not Kenya is also here.
Not Kenya, thank you. That one too. You know, even though the one I'm chapa, I usually namchapa Martha Karua when I know Kip is not around. I'm just joking. Joe, go ahead.
Yeah. So okay, I'm just gonna rapid fire a couple of things here. I'm just gonna run them off. So yeah, I mean, the whole system is messed up, man. Guys, look around the world. Around the world, I mean, we have this centralized system of government. Everything that I've been able to gather from my education and everything that I remember being taught in school. I mean, I went to primary school in a Kenyan village, and I also went to a primary school in Uganda as well. And since then, whatever, everything that I've been able to gather since then is that our culture, our ancestors, traditionally very, very decentralized system of government. If you look at history around the world, centralized government, it doesn't matter what ism it is. It doesn't matter if it's communism. It doesn't matter if it's socialism. It doesn't matter if it's fascism, any kind of ism. Centralization of power, given human nature, inherently breeds corruption. And you don't need to listen to me, guys. Just look at history. You've had all kinds of, I mean, I didn't even put monarchs in there, right? Now, this is not something I read in a book, what I'm about to say. When you look at the history of sub-Saharan Africa, right? You know, you look at the literature of the Europeans, they're referring to us as savages and all this shit. You know, man has been looking for the proper system of governance since the beginning of time. What is the proper way to govern this community? How do I rule this village? How do I rule this valley? Or how do I rule this large area? You know, man's been looking for that proper system. When you look at I'm going a little bit off the beaten path here in terms of away from Kenya politics, but I'll come full circle and bring it back to what we're talking about. So just bear with me. I'm going to make a point. I'm going to land. When you look at the different, look at the number of tribes that Kenya has. Look at the number of tribes you have in each sub-Saharan African country. When you have such a proliferation of different groups of people that were able to coexist amongst one another in close proximity, that speaks to a society that was not just killing each other like savages, like the Europeans love to paint us. That speaks to a society that had some sort of cohesion. So yes, this is not immediate K and Kip. I know this is not, you know, some immediate actionable step to act on. But, you know, perhaps someone might hear this and, you know, just plant a seed in their mind about what type of government do you want in the future? What type of government is best for Kenya in the future? Because the issues of misspending of funds, of MPs that get elected and go to the capital city and sit there and don't do shit for the people in the outer provinces. These are issues that are facing countries all over the world that have this very similar system of government. Now, you might say, what would a truly decentralized system of government look like, Joe, in 2024? I don't have all the answers for that, but I do know that a moving away from centralization of power towards decentralization neutralizes corruption, and you couple decentralization, a move towards it, with reduction in the size of government, because I mean, I'm sure you guys know, people have talked about the number of MPs, too many MPs given the size of the country. When you have less people to keep an eye on, it's easy to keep an eye on them. So decentralization, reduction in the size of government, just a bigger picture thing. And I would love, and that's why I'm just going to bring full circle what I was mentioning earlier about the messaging towards the military, like these types of conversations. I was mentioning earlier, there's a lot of smart people in the country. We have a lot of guys that are very good in technology, very good in business, very good in history, very well educated, very well spoken, even those on this panel. But I guess I'm not sure if Kay can comment, or I know things in Uganda are very dire. I reference Uganda because my mother's Ugandan and my father's Kenyan. Okay. So I keep referencing that country. I know things are dire there in terms of people's ability to assemble and have free discussions like we're having here. Are things as dire on the ground in Kenya? I imagine a little bit less so, but please educate me. And with all due respect, like if a group of people get together and are, let's say, having a political discussion, are the police coming in and shutting those things down? It's an honest, genuine question, guys.
There's kidnappings. There is actual kidnappings happening right now.
I've heard of that. I'm aware of that.
But in terms of political gathering, there has been popularization of content creation in Kenya. So this was not nipped in the bud yet. So you'd find people in Jacaranda, they will, they will speak their minds, and they're usually politically affiliated. So social gathering is not like the old times where we don't do these things in secret. But if you make too much noise, they will arrest you. Morara, I don't trust him. Morara is one of them who's been taken.
And I saw on the news, just from here, in the I've seen, the police going to guys' homes, and they don't even care that the media is there. Like, it's just out in the open, and that's why, guys, I'm not trying to put my point of the military thing on Mount Rushmore here, but I just want to emphasize that the ability to also just the planning for the future. It's like, okay, so let's say Ruto goes tomorrow, then what? Right? Like, it would be ideal if prior to that you would have had sustained discussions amongst those natural leaders and discussions amongst the people. What do the people want? Ideas, exchanging ideas, just kind of like we have right now. So I think that's very important to happen before, let's say Ruto just disappears tomorrow. Then what?
Kindiki will take over, and then we'll deal with Kindiki. Then
Kindiki will take over.
Wetangula will take care of Wetangula, and so on and so forth until we get the one we want. Because once we get rid of one parasite, the rest is fine. I don't think you should be afraid. And the military, just like you had said, the military has been trained to take care of its people. The police still have colonial mentality. So that is the difference between the two. Sorry, continue. Interrupted.
No worries, man. No worries. And
no, I just want.
I'm sorry, host. I think wanted to say something.
I wanted to make this. Yeah, I wanted to make this point. I was having this discussion with somebody else, and my argument was this: most people will not agree with this, but I think democracy is a myth. If you look at history, we only benefit. We need what do you call it? Benevolent dictatorship. That's what we need to have. Look at Libya with what's his name that just got killed by NATO.
Gaddafi.
What's his freaking name?
And all the African
Gaddafi.
leaders
stood
by.
Absolutely. But I mean, he was a great leader to his people.
Why are you going
They
far?
were doing way better than they're doing right now.
Kagame right now is a very good leader and is a dictator.
Right. unless you're talking to the Hutus, then it's different. But again, to make Christopher Hitchens' point, this great British polemicist who said, yes, you know who Christopher Hitchens is, right? Who said, we are living under celestial dictatorship. God is a dictator. But that's on a fun part. But what I'm trying to say is this. I don't care what the system is, whether it's capitalism, because capitalism in its, if you're talking about Jeffersonian democracy and John Adams' idea of capitalism, it's something that works for everyone, okay? The capitalists create jobs for the people who don't have shit, and they have jobs and they pay them good, give them benefits and all that stuff, okay? Same thing with people who you might consider whatever, socialist or whatever the case is, communism, whatever. Everybody shares their wealth, whatever. Whatever system you have, whether it's decentralized power, where, yes, you can argue that it's, it eliminates the whatever of corruption. But at the same time, I feel like it just depends on who is in charge. There are people who care about the people at the bottom, and there are people who don't. And I'm arguing whatever the system you have to care about the people, that you're in charge of. So whatever system you want to choose, it's, Anyway, but that's a nice conversation to have. I am about to sign out, so I'll start with Joe. You can start with your closing remark, then we'll go to Jared. Then KK will finish up. Then we'll continue this conversation tomorrow because I have to kind of sign out. But go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I'll just land. So I was okay. So I made the point. Kip, I think, mentioned the distinction between the military and the police. You also mentioned that as well. So guys, that's important. Just have that in. Just chew on that for some time. Just the importance of that sustained messaging towards them, because again, you have to have these kinds of discussions, so that even just for the leaders to be able to bubble to the top, so that we can identify, okay, this is a guy that we can trust. This guy is competent. This guy is not at the bar every night. This guy is serious. He's intelligent. He's intellectual. He's presentable. He knows how to negotiate. He can think long term. Those types of things. One just philosophical point on the issue of governance. I'll be very, very quick and I'll land. So again, we had a very decentralized system of government in sub-Saharan Africa. Host, I think it is important. I don't think it's just a matter of whatever system, but we'll talk about that some other day. So I will say that with that proliferation of diversity, that speaks to a people that were able to live in harmony despite their differences. Now, tell me what other place in the world do you have such, and I don't even want to use the word diversity because that word's been butchered. It doesn't even encapsulate the point. Where you have all these people, different tribes, different languages in Kenya alone, and then you take the whole continent as a whole, living in proximity close to one another. You don't have it anywhere in the world, but where we're from. So, and you'll never hear the intellectuals of the world, the social scholars of the world, give credit to the folks in sub-Saharan Africa for having a system of government that kind of worked. I mean, because you look at what they were doing in Europe and the rest of the world, they're hanging this king, they're hanging this leader, they're having this revolution. Of course, yeah, we know on the western side of the continent, they had maybe larger kingdoms, maybe, I guess they called them chiefdoms. But yeah, just something that you don't hear too often. I'm sure I had some other points, but I'll just land there. Thanks for letting me mouth off here, man. I appreciate you letting me speak here. Have a blessed evening, brother.
Appreciate you too. Thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, and all that stuff, and put your notification on so every time I'm on, you can always jump in. Wangira, I know it's really late wherever you are. Paul is sana, but today, Wangira, hey, the controversial man, the most controversial man on YouTube.
Don't worry.
Yes.
William Samoei Ruto is trying to use, the Moi style of governance. And, there's one reason why, that style of governance, is not succeeding. During Moi's time, the ordinary mwananchi, especially before the end of the Cold War and the collapse of the Berlin Wall, the ordinary mwananchi had money in his pocket. So, the ordinary mwananchi did not care much about the politics of the day because he had money in the pocket. Unlike today, where the ordinary mwananchi, does not have anything, people in Kenya today are more poorer than they were perhaps in when I talk of the per capita, they are more poorer than perhaps they are more poorer than they were in 85 or 89, because majority of them don't even have a job. And you want to use the same system of governance on poor people, and it cannot work. For example, during Moi's time, you'll be told that education was accessible, healthcare was there, things were working. Generally, things were working. Before 1989, things were working. You could go to a dispensary and you could be treated and you could get medicine. Majority of us would go to school and we were not paying anything. Things were working. Life was affordable. Unlike where we are today, where life is not affordable, and somebody wants to use the same system that was used 35 years ago, it will not work for William Ruto. And that's why majority of Kenyans are fed up. And let me tell you, the truth of the matter is that majority of Kenyans are fed up. They might not have a way out of the situation in which they are in today, but they are fed up. Across the board, they are fed up. And that's why today, when he was in M1, he was talking about, affordable housing. He was talking about the shifsha. People were booing him. That tells you that, people on the ground are finding it hard because, things are not working. And that's why they are not ready to listen to him. And, eventually, and I want to repeat this one, eventually, it might not be 21st of November, but eventually, this rage, will reach its maximum, and one day, the thing will get organic, just like it was with the Gen Zs in the month of June, and we might see something that we have never seen in this country if the guy that is in charge, does not change tack. Let me just stop there, and perhaps I allow Kay to come in.
KK, wrap it up for us.
So, I'm in a place where this conversation is good. Anyway, sorry. So I want to talk to all of us. I was watching the fight all. I think it comes to a time where
It's okay, go ahead.
Tunaenda wapi? And things are bad. Things are bad. And they're not just bad. Like if you're going through financial struggles and you sleep, even if you're hungry, you sleep like you're not even worried. We're in a place where even our own security, everyone in Kenya, they are worried. Everybody's paranoid. Think about it. Even all of us in diaspora, you're paranoid. This is the last kicks of a dying horse. From 21st, let's make sure this horse is dead and done. So we can plant, we can build a new, better country. 21st, do your part, wherever you are. And even if, whatever it takes, if it takes, Mozambiques are doing it as we speak. Mozambiques are doing it. They are in the streets every day. Kenya, show us, show the world who owns Africa. We are the kings and queens of Africa. Let's finish the job.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, guys. KK, Joe, Kip, Melchizedek. Who else came in over here? I forgot their names. Everyone, Chief Niggas, kila mtu hapo kwa comment section. I thank you so much. Again, Wangera also. Wangera, it's a pleasure. I didn't know you would stay up so late. I know it's very late up there. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll be here tomorrow too. So again, Wangera, just, I don't know if you've subscribed yet. Subscribe and put your notification on. So every time I come in, you can always get the notification on your phone. And, that way you'll know when I'm in, and I will always throw you the link and you can get in and we can have this discussion. KK, you too. Najua pia, uko mashuguli, but whenever you have time, you can always jump in. And everybody else, kina Ani, Gypsy Corner, Chief Nugu Sako, tutawaingiza siku moja. Mesh Wanjiku, Bruce, Yagdev, everybody else. Thank you so much, guys. Subscribe, share, like, comment, share it in your WhatsApp groups. This is Kenya Revolution. I have to sign out. Have a blessed weekend, wherever you are. I know it's late in Kenya. It's late in Europe, or late wherever you are. But hey, have a blessed day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace and blessings. I'm out.